To order. Chief Thornton will say our invocation, our pledge today. Thank you, Chief.
Let us pray. Dear Lord, thank you for letting us come here today together to do the business of the city. We ask you to give blessings, knowledge, and wisdom to the mayor, council, department heads, HR, everybody that has any dealings with what's going on today. Just let them make the best decisions to help move the city forward. We also ask this time a special prayer for all the soldiers that are out fighting and defending our right to come and assemble and take care of business for our city. Dear Lord, we just ask you that you keep us safe and keep us healthy until we meet again. These prayers we ask in your name.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Chief. Roll call, please.
Bibby.
Present.
Ard.
Here.
Jackson.
I'm here.
Hill. Present. Kirby.
Present.
Very good. We will go ahead and we will do our normal agenda items will be acted upon if they meet the guidelines necessary, I'll get it, to perform essential minimum functions of a governmental body or a matter necessary to respond to COVID-19. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Kirby. I have a second by Mrs. Hill. Roll call, please.
Bibby.
Aye.
Ard.
Aye.
Jackson. Hill. Aye. Kirby.
Aye.
It's a vote of 5-0. We also need to pass this before our interviews take place. Resolution 2231, Director of Youth Services vacancy recruitment period extended.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion by Mr. Kirby, have a second by Mrs. Hill. Any discussion?
Ms. Bibby, by the way, doing this, y'all are following your guidelines and the procedures, and so there's no deviation from the procedure. Okay, I want to make sure.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Part
Armin.
of the record.
Thank you.
They've been extended for what period? Because I was thinking that we were just extending them for a week past.
The 20th, I believe.
21st.
Next Friday.
Next Friday.
That was the guidelines we understood, so.
See, I was thinking we were going to do
Simple week,
it.
but yeah.
I was thinking we were going to do it for a week, but okay, that's fine.
Be clear, you said they were extended to the 20th.
20th or 21st?
Friday,
21st until at 5 p.m.
The posting will close on Thursday night at midnight.
Okay,
That's 7 days.
thank you. Any other discussion?
Wait a minute, that's 7 days from when?
Today. It was posted late yesterday afternoon.
The resolution states that it ends Friday, August 21st at 5 p.m. That's what it says.
Okay.
Friday would be the 20th.
The 21st.
I mean,
Yeah.
Rochelle just said the 20th.
Okay, you're
Which
right.
is
I'm off
Thursday
today. I'm
at
sorry.
midnight, which would not incorporate Friday.
That's right, I'm sharing with you what the resolution says.
Okay, so it is closed Thursday at midnight.
No, it closes Friday at 5 p.m.
We can leave it up on the website to accommodate the resolution. if we need to.
Or we can amend it right now.
That's right, I'm just telling you what the resolution says.
Okay, all righty.
I'm fine either way, I'm just telling you what it says.
All right, council, got it, here, please.
I think we should leave it as it is, Friday, August 21st. 5 p.m.
Is there an issue with that in any way?
There is for me. I would like to, unless we have just tons more applications, I would like to vote on it on the 21st, which is Friday, next Friday. I think we have laid this open long enough, but I'm glad we did because obviously some things were askew in the beginning that I hope we are making right. But I think that I've asked Rochelle on behalf of the council, once we receive any application or resume, to immediately let council know of that, and we will immediately be asking for interviews. So from the time you post it, if you get 5, we should get those immediately, and we'll try to knock those out quickly. For me, it's imperative to get this done quickly because, again, I think we're hopefully righting a wrong.
Does that give us time to go through, I mean, this is obviously taking us back through the process for personnel recommendation as well
It should.
through Friday. Okay.
Mr. Jackson, do you have any comments?
I do. Again, I was thinking that we were going to extend it a week from our last meeting. And so I'm of the mindset that we need to do it sooner versus later as well. And I've said that. So I would like to vote on this thing, again, sooner versus later. And I'd like to vote on it Friday as well. So that's. but we
You're
can-
talking about voting next Friday.
As soon as possible. This, actually, yeah, next Friday.
Do we have reasonable
The
cause to
21st,
believe?
Friday the 21st, actually,
Right,
is what I
right,
was
right.
looking at.
Do we have reasonable cause to believe that there's additional people that were told or didn't get the chance to apply?
Yes, according to
Well,
President Bibby.
the two we're interviewing today, yes. Are there any more out there? I don't know, Charles.
So that's an unknown.
That's an unknown.
That's why we were gonna leave it open.
Okay.
To be-
So you're gonna do
to
that
be
extra
fair.
week there in case?
I think that's the right thing. to
Personally,
do.
Rochelle, I would like to go with what you said the first, that it would close Thursday at midnight, which would be the 19th, or the 20th, I'm sorry, right? At midnight, which would be
That's fine.
Thursday. Can we amend that?
We just took, but I want to make sure you understood what the resolution said. Y'all can adjust it, obviously.
Well, I made the original motion, and if everybody's in agreement, the 20th at midnight, I'm happy with that amendment.
Does that allow for us to, you're saying that we'll go through the proper
That's
process?
the only caveat, if there's a midnight hour applicant that meets the qualification, I don't anticipate that, but that could change when you have your meeting and that occurs.
Does that
If
give
that
everyone
occurs-
until the 20th to apply? Okay.
And if that occurs, then we have to deal with it, but I want to shut it down as well.
If there's what?
If that occurs, then we'll have to deal with it, but
Yeah.
I would,
That still gives people time.
So I'm gonna stand amended
Okay.
on this from 8:20 midnight.
I believe that's what you said originally, Rochelle, so. We just made a big circle, didn't we? Okay, I have a motion by Mrs. Hill.
A second.
I'm sorry, motion by Mr. Kirby and a second by Mrs. Hill. Any other discussion? Chuck, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. I just think we're rushing things, so I'm not going to support extending it past. I think we ought to go with Friday, but that's okay.
All righty, any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Bibby,
Aye.
Ard,
No,
Jackson.
aye.
Hill,
Aye.
Kirby.
Aye.
Resolution 2231 is passed with a vote of 4-1. We will wait on B resolution. We are now going to go into the interview process. Mr. Watkins, come on up to that chair right there. Ms. Allen, do you want to take it in here? All right, go right ahead. Thank you.
Can we,
Yeah, maybe for the first time last week.
Ma'am.
Maybe for the first time last week.
excuse me. Is it okay if he sits where he was sitting? So, I mean, his back is to Christie and
Okay,
he's
if-
kind of away from me,
Can we
so-
get a microphone to him, Brad? We just want to make sure that's,
Thank you.
Does that work for everybody?
Slack on there.
I'm sorry, will this one work? Can you-
No, this one,
No,
this
this
is
will be,
fine. I
it's
just,
got a long cord.
Okay.
Am I asking too much, Brad? I just,
no.
okay. It's good.
It's
Sounds
a
like he's
long
on tape.
cord, it's just wrapped.
I'd just like for him to be able to face everyone.
Sure, sure.
Go from there.
I might not have been able to.
Thanks, sir.
Okay. Well, we got a series of questions we're gonna ask you.
Yes, ma'am.
Process.
Yes, ma'am.
Tell us about yourself, or we're gonna do the Councilman Snow, last week. We'll just get to know you a little better.
So you want me to tell a little bit about myself?
Well, we'll get into that with our first
Okay.
question. And
Yes, ma'am.
maybe some follow-up questions from the councilman for
Yes,
the
ma'am.
other panel members.
Okay.
Just have fun with it,
Yes, ma'am.
shake it off.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes,
So our first question for you.
Yes, ma'am.
Some of us have already received your resume, your application, actually, everyone here in the room. So please provide a brief summary of the highlights of your career
Yes, ma'am.
and your experiences that you feel make you uniquely qualified to be the director of youth services department, and why this job, why you believe this job is a fit for you.
Okay. Personally, I am the kid that I'm trying to help. I'm an at-risk kid. And you guys kind of went over my story that my mom hit my brother like 14, me at 17, and my sister at 18. We was counted out altogether. Really, it was over. But thank God that somebody participated and believed in helping us. I thank God for my father coming in my life. And not just that, I went through high school a big-time at-risk kid. I actually left high school with a 1.4 GPA, got into it with all my teachers. It's just, I was that kid. When back in the 90s when the gang violence started, that was me. I was involved in it. And my whole life's twist. And I almost cried now talking about it. To get the opportunity to sit on this side and not be in that side in the jail is mind-blowing. It's out of this world, incredible. So I want to do what I did with my 3 kids. I got 3 great kids. My daughter, $2 went off to the #1 HBC school it is. My son got a great job. And it's a blessing to get my kids there. But I want to get the other kids there. I want to show them a life that when everybody have given up on them, you got this cat right here, believe you can make it. I ain't always sit in this seat. I sit in the other seat. So my heart, my passion, I've been doing this for 22 years. I did it at the University of Alabama College. I go in, I don't think this is a job, I'm gonna be honest with y'all. I think it's a calling on my life. If this don't go the way I think, I'm gonna continue to do it. It's no joke. I have to, based on my situation coming from the projects, based on everybody giving up. Me and my brother did something that's unheard of, my sister. And I think I have the ability, not just black or white or Hispanic, I have the ability to go into the projects, to go into the low-income homes, to do the thing. It's just not what I'm saying. I live the life. Right now, me and my wife is doing a project right now because of the COVID virus. And these kids need therapy and counseling. And so we did, and we're on our own company. We are dealing with foster kids, and God is out there, guys. Y'all need to hear their stories. At-risk kids. So we did Zoom. And rest today, we're doing it now. We're doing Zoom and doing therapy for DHR, JPO, and on and on. And we're also doing therapy for families free who's facing this issue, not how to get his kids back in school, not going back to college, because it's suicidal, it's depression, and things of that nature. Why I think I can do the job? Because I live the life. Why I think I can do the job? Because I was one of them kids. And why I think I can do the job? Because I'm from here. This is my hometown. I came here Pacific to make an impact on these kids' life. And I thank God personally for you guys giving me a chance. I said this in this statement. I'm not really a hero, you guys are. We're standing on the shoulder of giants. Years ago, y'all picked Bruce Jones. Because what Bruce Jones did, I'm here today. I told my wife, I feel like LeBron James being interviewed by Michael Jordan. Everybody know LeBron James is only there because of Michael Jordan. And that's how I feel today. I feel I'm in a great situation. I thank God for all y'all Michael Jordans. I just need LeBron James to get a chance. That's how I feel about it.
So, Mr. Watkins, will you briefly touch on highlights from your experience where you worked with, people in an organization, leading other leaders, adults? Because I mean, your resume obviously shows you have a passion for working with kids.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I have worked with, Mr. Jones have allowed me to, work with tons of leadership people, leaders in Decatur, from many programs, from a JPO, from SOS, Mrs. Laura Hill. I even work with the Mental Place in Decatur, various organizations. Also, I'm trying to think of one off the back of my head. From the school system, all the principals, every principal. Matter of fact, I got a chance to work with every principal because I did a mentor program for the elementary kids. So I would go in and do mentor for 2 kids. I had 13 schools. I met all the principals. I worked with the middle school, all the principals there, because I did an RI program for them. And then when the gang thing came up, me and Bruce went into the high school, so I worked with all the principals. So I worked with every principal in the city of Decatur.
Okay. How would you describe your leadership style?
I'm a servant's leader. And I'll be honest with you, I got it from Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A doing it to work. No, Chick-fil-A is the best. Everybody knows, especially during this time with the virus. We go to Chick-fil-A and they do great. But I'm a service leader. I lead by what I do. When I get to DYS, what I'm going to do, I'm going to lead by myself. I'm going to go out myself. Not to tell the people, I do first. And I'll be honest with you, I love being in the community. I love getting people don't like getting in the grimy dirt. People don't want to go into projects or go to low-income people. Well, that's what I like doing. So this won't be this. We need to change it up a little bit. You have to go out and reach people on that level. So that's what I love to do, and that's the people I work with.
Thanks.
Yes, ma'am.
Just quickly, I know you reported you have about 17 years with the Youth Services Department.
Yes,
Under
ma'am.
reporting charge, employee records, you actually worked as a city employee from 2010 to 2012. So around that, could you give some examples of what your relationship
Bruce, which is a great man, Bruce brought me in. Before I left to go to the school system, Bruce had set me up to be the manager of a UAS, which was very important. But I left in and went to the school system. So he's put in a position to manage the people at the place of UAS. I have been, and I just can go over it right quick, ask that question is, I have did various programs, meeting with people. I have done the JPO, I have done Voice Me, which is a program we did. We took 8th graders for 4 years, and they had to be with me constantly and took them to college places. And I had an 80% turnaround of these at-risk kids that went off to college. I got it right here. I did Safe Camp Haven. Actually, I started Safe Camp Haven. It's a summer camp we did, where I had like 20 adults, I had managed 20 adults, 15 high schools, and middle school kids. 3 old ladies who did my lunchroom thing, which was excellent, and tons of volunteers. Actually, I started the camp, which is still going on today. So I managed that. Also, I have done a winter camp. I did Pals Athletic, which I was the coordinator. Pals Athletic is a basketball thing. I was the coordinator. I was a referee, and I also was a coach. I did the City Lockheed, and I know you talked about Bruce City Lockheed with hundreds of kids. And I did it every year with Bruce. And so me and Bruce did something else, and we did a thing called the Church Lockheed as well. So I did the Church Lockheed. I worked with JPO with a summer program. The last thing I really done, I really enjoyed, when it was giving jobs to young kids, but they had to go to football practice. So what I done, I went and took them to football practice. I picked them up around noon, and we went out and did volunteer work, which they got paid a small stipend. But we did volunteer work. They have old people cutting grass, doing small things. That was my baby, because these kids, these guys, they didn't have anyone to pick them up and take them to the places. And the elders liked it because I was getting them to learn to respect the elders, which I think was losing. So that's some of the programs I did at the service.
Next question.
Yes, sir.
How would you describe the purpose, mission, and benefits of a municipal youth services organization?
One more time.
How would you describe the purpose, mission, and benefits of a municipal youth services organization?
I think the purpose of DY is to take young people that are at risk, that people don't believe in, and make them a successful citizen of the Cape. The benefit is that we don't have to worry about them running into our cars and locking our doors. I think the gang violence, crime will go down. I think we'll have more kids walking around with their pants up and not down. I think the school system will be happy with it, because you have kids coming to school who have respect and honor their teachers. And the outcome, I just the outcome is the glory of God that He changed these kids' lives. I'm just gonna be honest. It's just, I don't know if y'all dealt with at-risk kids. I said this story. I had a white kid that came through with me, and his parents, his mom was on drugs rehab. I don't call his name. He came from my program. Mom was on drugs rehab, and he had been taken advantage of in some ways. And everybody had gave up on this white kid, and I believed in him so much. And he called me not long ago and said, I'm the first doctor in my family. My mind. That blew my mind. That just because I can give up on him. Y'all in a house of going home, in a place that you've been abused, your mom on drugs, and you can call me as an African-American man, as a Caucasian, and said, just because, I got to tell us the story, but just because you didn't give up, that's the benefit. The benefit is tears of joy. Like I said, it's a great thing that my kid is doing good, but it's better when another kid called me and tell me, Mr. Watkins, just because you did, and you're a doctor. Now, I said something, a doctor. Hey, it gets no better than that. It gets no better than telling that story. I say it all the time, it gets no better than telling that story. My bad, I'm sorry.
No, actually, it's good answers. Thank you. You're fine. All right, next question. What experiences do you have working with, you've already answered this question, is there anything else you want to share about working with youth and families, specifically at-risk youth, maybe another specific example, including the development of prevention and intervention programs and solutions? I really think you've already answered that question, but if someone has a follow-up. So the next question, number 4.
Rochelle, maybe a question question in regard to this. Do you think there's any programs that we need to develop that we don't already have that would be beneficial for our kids?
I think one right now is very beneficial with the school, the kids going online, and it's not, I think DYS need to be a middleman. And with the school, when they can't get the kids online or can't get the parents, we need to go into the homes and talk to the parents right now during this virus, connect them back to the school system. Because that's something going on now, because I work in the school system, and a lot of the teachers and a lot of people are scared to go into the homes. And I understand that. I think we as DYS need to go in there and connect it and see why the kid is not online doing this work. We got a lot of parents that are afraid to go to the school system. And not to knock them on the education part, they're afraid to come in there. They don't. And I used to do a program like that. I used to do a program where I walked in with the parent, and I sit and listen to what the principal said to really explain to her what he's talking about. They don't know their code of conduct book. I'm just being honest with y'all guys. That's a program I did as well. But I think that's one thing I want to do with DYS. And another thing I want to do with DYS is not going down that I think is very important. Make it more community involvement. The community is paying us to help them. It's just what it is. We're like police. The community is paying their tax dollars for us to help them. Make it open to the community and make sure you are helping the community. And that's one of the big things I want to do. Make sure our love is welcome to the community.
Our next question begins to answer a lot of what your strengths are and why you think this is a good fit for you. What are some areas maybe that you improve on? What would be a weakness if you were to get this?
A weakness that I would work on, that I would improve on. I think one of my, I guess that I would improve on is really focusing on me personally, making sure I'm a servant leader myself. I think I would really, with an opportunity like this to have people before you and a chance being a director of the city, I think I would make sure when I leave here, I'm just not talking it, but I'm making sure I'm walking it even greater than what I've been doing. So my servant leadership would be something I would really push in me to make sure I put it into other people. Because I think my servant leadership have got me here today. So that's something I probably work on a daily basis. Yes, ma'am.
So again, you're giving really good answers here. You're getting a lot of these points already. But one of the things, when we talk about your leadership style and how you have motivate a team, talk about motivating at-risk youth, how would you motivate a team of employees? And have you ever motivated a team of employees to get to that next level?
Just my hair. Actually, Bruce Jones gave me so many opportunities to do it. All through the 10 years I was with him, I was able to be one of his main person. Actually, I was one of his main speakers because I do motivation speakers, but one of his main speakers helping leadership with DYS, with the people, with the staff. This guy came in. I said we had a leadership line down at DYS. To be honest with y'all, they got a guy to come in and do the leadership thing to try to bond us back together. And the guy, and I won't call his name, but he looked and he told Bruce, honestly, he said, this is the guy that should be leading the place. And that's how Bruce came with the idea to put me in a position. But then the school called me, and I had a passion for the kids in the school, and that's how I left and went there.
All right, we're going to talk a little more about your leadership style with managing
It's perfect,
employees.
perfect.
Do you have a specific example of someone that you've managed who wasn't performing well that needed to kind of address their performance and improve?
Said it, repeat it.
Do you have an example of where you managed someone or supervised someone and they weren't performing very well?
Oh, yes. When I was doing a summer camp, and I don't know if y'all ever had a summer camp with 300 kids coming in at a summer camp, and I was dealing with 20 adults. I had a lady who she meant well with the kids, but she was treating them like they was her kids. And I understand that. I had a complaint from the parents that she was, get on the trip pretty hard. I didn't confront her in front of everybody else. I was not going to do that. I brought her in one-on-one, and I applauded her first for what she had done. I told her, you are my best individuals at this camp. And what you're doing, you mean well. And I explained to her, but they're not your kids. So, and within that, keep loving them, but you can't treat them like your kids. I didn't kill her. I told her what her weakness was, but I exalted her strengths. And that's one thing you have to do. Everybody have to know the weakness, but we got to exalt people's strengths. So that's what I did. I brought in, actually she ended up being one of my best adults as a camp leader. She ended up good. She smiled. I didn't want her to walk out upset when she got out there at the camp. She's very excited how I talked to her. And I think it's a tone too, you talk to people. People are grown, you can't holler at them. You gotta respect who they are.
Brandon, you and I are friends.
Yes, sir.
Marcy, your children,
Yes, sir.
Zoe's played a big part.
Ah, yes, sir. She love you.
How many folks, what's the largest number of people groups that you manage or the budget? What would be the largest budget you
Manage, I have managed.
manage?
In my camp, I guess 20 plus 15 plus, probably about 50 people that I managed.
Not at one time, but for a sustained period.
Oh, God. Hundreds.
No, I'm saying, let's.
For a staying or period of,
Let's direct report to us. So people that directly report to you. I mean,
over time.
yes.
Well,
Over so let's say that you were to come into this role.
Yes, sir.
You're going to have some direct reports.
yes, sir.
Okay, those that will directly report to you. Okay, am I making sense?
Yes, sir. I'm with you now.
All right, so how many in a role like this have you had that directly will report, have reported to you?
Direct to me, okay. Even with DYS staff, I think there's 28 down at the max, because I'm one of them. Personally, actually, when I was a youth pastor for 10 years full time, I had probably at that time 20 staff reporting directly to me at the church. Also during the camp, Bruce didn't come in, they directly reported to me. I've had my own company. I have 4 direct reporting to me today. So that's what I've done. And direct reporting to me, I have everything. Yes, I have. But a big, that's what I have done.
What about a budget? What's the largest budget you've
The largest budget I have dealt with.
well put together and then managed?
I got an opportunity to bless that, so it was a great opportunity. When I was at DYS, the budget was almost $500,000 at the time of Bruce. Then I did the CTF grant, the father grant. I got an opportunity to work with the budget with Bruce. I think right now the budget is about $800,000. One thing about the city, which is good, I love how they do it, the money is earmarked. So I learned about the city budget years ago. So all the money is earmarked with DYS to a specific place. Most of the money down there and work with the grant, which I got the opportunity to do with Bruce, was excellent. That the money was going towards salaries, mostly going towards salaries down there. Then other expense like office expense, day-to-day events. It's not a lot of money in Lincoln. That's why Bruce used to go out and try to make more money to bring in. So I do with that budget. Also with my company, we started out 4 years ago, probably 30,000. We have increased now by about 40%. So I'm telling you with a better budget. But which one I got today? My wife was back there saying because she didn't lose her partner. My company, she got to do the company herself. So my company have increased in the last 4 years. And then I did the budget for CTF, which is 50,000 or 45,000. I have been doing that for the last years. So that's the budget I've been working with. So I have very inputs of budgets. I just think Mr. Jones gave me an opportunity to know about UIS budget a long time ago.
What about fundraising? Is that something you enjoy doing?
The fundraising?
You enjoy fundraising?
Yes, sir. Most definitely. Oh, God. Yes, I can do that for everything I did at my church. I don't know if y'all ever saw a conference I did. I used to do a conference with 500 kids to show up. And the money, I had to go out and raise the money. So I used to go to different vendors indicating to raise money. Not just that, when I was getting jobs for the guys who worked with my partner program, I had to go out and get different vendors to get them jobs, which was a challenge for Judge Langman put that before me, which was excellent. So I went to different vendors, getting jobs for people I work with, getting money. It's just, I enjoy doing it. That's what it's about.
Now, what about, you worked with our finance department, is that right?
Sir?
You've worked with our finance department whenever you...
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. You worked well with our finance department?
Ah, yes. Yes, me and my wife, we do well, both of us work with the CTF grant. Yes, sir. Alan, yeah.
Rochelle, where are we? Are we on question 7 at the moment?
Well, he's answered 7 and 8.
That's what I thought.
Yeah. Have you ever been faced with a no, where you're out fundraising and asking for help, and you said no, and how have you dealt with that?
Oh, yes, ma'am, you want to have
It would be hard to say no.
Oh, God. Yes. I think a no is just another chance until you go to another door. I mean,
yeah.
Chick-fil-A man, what, he was 7 years old when he sold his chicken. He went from door to door selling chicken. And he was at the age of 40, he didn't come back until 77. You gonna get a no. No, okay. Are you here to help the community and at-risk kids? Or are you here to make a pocket? This is not a job to get rich off. This is our social service. It's not gonna happen. You're gonna get some no. But I guarantee that no is good when it comes to yes one of these kids. The whole thing is about the community. This job here, it ain't about me, it's about the community. If I get a no, but that kid smile in his face gonna make me go, yes, I'm gonna get somebody. I keep knocking this door. And if I can't take my ugly face, I'm gonna get these kids to come with me. We gonna gather the troops. Y'all, everybody know they like to give money to the Girl Scout kid. You buy them all day because they keep face. So I think we're gonna get yes. I think the city have done a great job with the community. Now I think I get yes. Yes, ma'am.
Question number 9. So if you're successful in getting this role, the organization's been in place for a really long time, 25 years. So maybe opportunities to facilitate change or progress. What would be your steps to do that? When we've done what we've done for a really long time, and it's time to change, what would you do? How would you facilitate and make that happen?
And I will make that call when I'm in that building. It'll be difficult for me to say what would I really do, step by step. Which what I do is I tell you guys, and I've been doing it before I got in. I read a lot of leadership books, Zig Ziglar and so on. I call them out. I go to a lot of leadership conference on being a great leader. And what happens is when I get down to do as that's the job I get. Based on the staff, the people, you just can't say you're gonna do all this because it'll be a lie. You got to get down there and get to know the people and see what steps you need to take. Because it might be different steps based on who's down there. When I get down there, leadership might change. So based on my leadership, it'll be based on books that I read, conferences that I go to, and how I can improve the staff down there to improve the community. So I can see that once I get there, once I get to know the individual. You just can't come down and cut people. You have to get to know their heart, to work with them. So I would take steps based on when I get down there, my leadership based on getting to know people that's there.
If I could ask a question, please, Mr. Watkins. I cheated and looked ahead in the questions so that I knew best where this question fit to present to you. And please be comfortable. I know you're passionate, you know. In the change that's mentioned in that last question, all of us are facing a new normal in these times with the COVID crisis. In change, we're adapting to new normals. You know, we've moved from here to over there, and we don't know where it'll stop when this is all over. Whatever this change brings us, whether it's budget, how you deal with people, how you're going to manage, do you feel comfortable wherever that leads us, you're going to be able to manage that change?
That's a great question. I'm just fine you asked the question. I asked God, why have I had 10 different supervisors for the last 20 years? I learned to adjust. I learned to work with change. I think nothing comes by change, even with the virus. We got to get down and come up with something where we can wear the mask and still produce and still do what we're doing. I'm open for change. The last 20 years I have had 10 different supervisors, and I have had that change every year to adjust, but it was beneficial. Every supervisor I work with, including Dr. Snow today, have taught me something to make me prepared for change. I learned, I worked with Dr. Scott one year, Bruce, my brother. I going on, it prepared me for change on a daily basis. That's how I tell my kids, and I'll be honest with y'all. I tell my kids, if you're going to get up in the morning and you ain't going to change, go back to bed. Because this world is changing constantly. So when they come to that, yes sir, I'm open to change. Not just that change the city. What are the rules of the city? That's something very important. And me, the KU service needs to connect back to the city. We're not out of ourselves. We need to see it. We need you guys. We need to hear y'all guys' point, what y'all feel. We need to listen to that. That's so important because you are the ones. We need to hear, and that's what I guess having the supervisors have taught me to listen and proceed and change in different areas. Listen.
Why so many changes, Brandon?
Sorry.
Why so many changes? That's over a 10-year period.
Why have you had so many supervisor changes?
I estimated,
No, why do you have so many supervisor changes? Not estimated.
change, every 2-3 years I do supervisor. And that based on me, based on the job I was having.
So you stayed with the same job.
Yes, I said the same job, supervisor change.
Big difference, big difference. Thank you.
Yeah, yes, it happened, it was kind of crazy. I was like, oh God, we get a new supervisor, because y'all know it's the case, it's school, CAP. Which I understand, CAP is a place, I don't know if y'all been there. You get every kid that have got in trouble. Now, CAP is just not long term, it's short term too. They put both of them together. So we got kids that's gonna be there for a week, then kids that's gonna be there for a whole year. So what CAP did with me, which the school was wise, they took me and put me on both sides. I just don't do long term, I do short term too. So, and I teach life skills as short term and long term. And when the principal out, you know who's there? Me. Matter of fact, the Decatur City had set me up in that role once before. It changes, but that's why it changes. It changes, they set me up in that role. So I'm even today, every kid that have got in trouble can't come to our school. I don't even know how y'all can imagine this. But I have never been wrote up a day in my life with no job. How do you manage to work with kids and they cussing and clowns? You got to change, you got to adjust. You can't treat every kid the same way. They come from a different household. One kid you might kick and holler at, another kid you might, and then I do therapy there. I got 2 offices down there.
I want to thank you for clarifying that and changing a negative into a positive. I want to thank you for that. What I want to ask you is,
Yes,
I know that you shared with me that you had gotten letters of recommendation. I even got a letter of recommendation for you
Yes, sir.
from Pastor Arthur Warrior
Okay, yes, sir.
on your behalf. Who have you gotten letters from, and what's the relationship with those people to
Yes, sir.
extend a letter of recommendation for you?
Dr. Nicholas was one of my, which one I got? He's one of my, oh God,
Dr.
Nicholas.
Okay.
Nichols. He was, I don't know if y'all, Dr. Nichols was that's who got me over there. He was really, he believed in me a lot. We had a good relationship based on what I did at CAP. He believed I was the perfect fit for it. Not just that Dr. Nichols came with this idea that since, I'm glad you asked, Rachel, we got Dr. Nichols. He got the idea when the kids are leaving cakes going home on a bus, they are acting bad, and the elder people cannot house them. So they put me on the bus with Mr. George for 5 years. So I rode the bus. If the kids get in trouble, then I go into the house and talk to the parents. So on my bus for 5 years, with cakes, the bag, I never had one problem. And that was one person, Dr. Nix. Also, I had Dr. Scott, which is a principal, which came in a long-term case. Me and her got a great relationship. She knew me from growing up with her brother. So now she laughed at that. But she was also trying to get me when Dr. Brinkman's job went down. She was wanting me to get that job. This relationship I have with Dr. Scott, we're very close. I have a relationship with Coach. We have just gained a new principal at Austin. I talked to him. But in my letter, is just the other person I got is Miss Shannon Cook. She's an elementary person I work with. I did the mentor programs for her. That's how we came to a good relationship with that as well. And I think I got one more. I was trying to see who else is.
Did you say Dr. Snow? I think you told
Dr.
me Dr.
Snow.
Snow.
Now that's the break because he's the other can say it today. Now to be leaving for Dr. Snow right by loud is my employee. To go to him and tell him no, I work that I'm his main person, and to believe in, he was honored. Mr. Miller literally cried with me. I know y'all know Mr. Miller's over the thing. I mean, that's how much Mr. Miller, but Dr. Snow wrote me one, and he's wrote it so good, like I'm honored for what you've done for this place, you're leaving. I'm proud of you. He's my kid's principal and everything. We was talking, it's kind of sad down there. I said, I can leave, man, he gave me a job. But to see what's in the paper, he was very honored. Dr. Snow, which is my supervisor right now, he wrote me a great letter about whatever I done, my character. We have a great relationship. It's just, I don't know, we just have, when all the people wrote it, I haven't gotten into it on principle, and I have great chemistry with the principals.
Okay. Would you mind sharing those with us at some point? Just, giving those letters to us at some point so that the council can review those letters. Thanks.
That's fine.
I'll ask you questions, and we'll let you ask some questions. So this job is not a 9 to 5, it's probably, and you know that, you've been
Yes,
down
sir.
there. So is there any limitations to your availability to support all that goes on with the lab?
Yeah, it was funny. My daughter, 10 years ago, I was I was going to the prisons doing a program called the 90-day program, and once the guys got out of prison, they come to DYS and we try to get them a job. And I was headed over there, and my wife had went to Birmingham to check my daughter. And they called me. And the question was, my daughter had been diagnosed with cancer. Do you go to the prison? Or do you rush to Birmingham? Where your heart is on this job, it's not a 9-to-5 job. I sit there, my wife in Birmingham, gets this news that my daughter gonna die. I make a choice to go finish my job. I am Stone Prison. I get there crying. The guys start praying for me. Inmates. And one told me, trust God. She gonna be free. I can finish with that. I get through. I get down to Bruce said, Brian, Birmingham. You know, Bruce said, Brian, I said, no, I would come down real rush. I get all the way to Birmingham. Called me and said, my daughter gonna die. Today is her 10th day anniversary. She's cancer free. I know about sacrificing for people. It's healed. She cancer free, but today, and you know, today, I know it's a sacrifice. That's what I mean. I think without a sacrifice, there's no beneficial. Can I be honest? These kids are worth the sacrifice. And don't matter what happened, I'm still going to sacrifice for kids. I think my 3 got where they are today based on what I have been doing for 22. I don't need a plaque. You ain't got to stand before people. I just need this kid to come out the hood, the project, the low income, and be a good citizen and get back taxes and do what's right and get a good job. That's all I'm trying to ask. Do I think I got the ability to do it? Yes, Lord. Do I think I'm a man? Yes, Lord. God grabbed me 26 years when I came back. I told Bruce Jones, let me say this, and I know he'll tell you. I said, Bruce, I'm going to take your job one day. I said, I'm going to bust my butt and take the ass Bruce. I said, I'm going to take your job. 26 years later, look what I'm sitting. Sitting right here. I got him, I got y'all, I got everything I need. I believe that y'all can make the right decision. Whoop y'all pick. I support it for you. Support it for you. Have no problem. No problem at all. Regardless of whatever happens, I'm going to do what I do. Because I understand these kids need us. They need us today. Not tomorrow. I see this today. I don't know how y'all see these young people, what they're doing. I don't know about the cell phones. These kids need somebody to believe in them. And if don't, they can't believe in nobody else. Brandon Bernard Watkins Sr. Best believe me. They can believe me. I hope I asked you a question.
So define for us what your definition of diversity is.
That's fine what you say.
Tell us what you think diversity means.
I guess when you talk about diversity, getting in a bad situation, is that what you're saying?
There are a lot of challenges in our culture.
Being in a bad situation. But diversity in different races, which diversity? Okay, I just want to ask a question. One race, badness don't lie in one race. Trouble lie in all races. Black, and we got an Hispanic population that came in. Black, white, Hispanic. When I was a long-term case, I got a chance to teach black history. I asked them, could I teach Hispanic history and white history way over life skills? Because it wasn't going to be fair for me to be teaching black history and when I teaching Hispanic history and white history. So they allowed me to do it because of the diversity. I think without all us coming together, the world's not going to be good anyway. I think we need different diversity. I think we need different races. I think the whites got stuff I need, the Hispanic got stuff I need, the black got stuff that I need. I think that's why God created us. I think all of us have a positive thing about us. And if we can connect this race, because all of y'all come and deal with these kids, every race is getting in trouble. That's just being honest with y'all guys. So I work with diversity. I work with Hispanic. I got probably more Hispanic friends. I can tell y'all just more about I have Hispanic friends than anything, because they have a long-term case. I got some white kids, black kids. So diversity is what I've been working with for a long time. Sorry, I didn't know what you were saying.
Are you saying that you would just serve people?
Sir?
Are you just saying?
People.
People?
Just people. Because think about it. I mean, even said Decatur. It's people y'all want to get jobs. I hope you got a race suit. No. That is no citizen with these black kids. It's a household. It's what these kids are facing in their house. What they are with. It's all race. It's just specific what it is. So my thing is, personally, when I come here, I want to have all race. Diversity, hey, let's change it up. D-White is not a black place. It's a place for low-income kids come. Y'all, we guys are paying tax money to see that place. 25 years down at D-White. Look how dirty it's going. Why not build it for 25 more? Because we all gonna be dead by then anyway. No, let's leave a legacy. Today will be a special day. Let's leave it there. We did this time. Because I'll be dead by then too. Oh, I might be still alive. I'm younger, but we halfway dead. Our name will be, oh, they did this thing. Or will our name not be?
No, you're. So who is your role model for work ethic? Who defines who you are today and how hard you work?
God is number one. Stop. Because you got to have, because we're going around. Second, two of my role models being Bruce Jones and Caracas Watkins. Caracas Watkins is my brother, my oldest brother. I don't know if y'all know about him. Oh God. He went straight through school and did what was right. Went off to college and became an engineer. Came back home, run 3 or 4 companies, CEO in Huntsville, every chamber board in the hills in Huntsville. Made great money, and he stayed on me. He's my biggest role model, him and Bruce. I had 2 guys that believed in me. Bruce was another one, because I wanted to be like Bruce. So they was on me like a little brother, kept me in order. I love them today. I tell everybody my 2 role models is Bruce Jones and Caracas Watkins, or Dr. Caracas Watkins, which he a doctor, man. We got 4 degrees of thermometer. But they're my 2 role models. And they are, I think they are great role models. I think they are.
On there. What 3 things, or, 3 things briefly in your career and your personal life has given you the most satisfaction? I think you probably guessed it. What are you doing?
3 things that have given me the most satisfaction
In both
in
your
my life.
personal life and your career.
My career. One thing that's given me the most satisfaction in my career is to help the community. That have been one I enjoy doing that. Another thing in my personal life, to see all 3 of my kids able to go through college and do what they've done, from a dad who was headed to from a teenager, that have blessed me. And my third thing that I enjoy, that are really blessed me in my career, I say, I'm trying to think. Okay, first thing, this guy's name, I won't call his name. Yeah, I'm glad you asked that. His last name long, I said long. I won't say his whole name. And the whole city have given up on him. I guess I said it was, and matter of fact, I called from talking about it. And his dad and parents was in a bad situation, I guess I said it. And he called me. I guess I've given me a blessing. And he have been in more trouble and got more everything over there. That now he's a big time truck driver, doing good with his life. And I just said glad. I guess yeah, because I talk. I think that's one. That's my biggest thing saying to you is helping the community. It's my passion, and I've been doing it years. Yeah.
Very last question.
Yes, sir.
You sound really busy, all been involved in a lot of things. What do you do to release stress?
That's a good one. Me and my wife leave on weekends and hang out and enjoy life. I just wish you, I'm not really a stressful guy. I'm gonna tell you why. You asked the question. I really don't stress out. And the reason why, based on what I've been through, based on my life, I don't stress that much. I believe if you help, you get help. I definitely give back to the community with help. So what I do to stress, we go Madison, Decatur, Sim McGee, maybe not Sim McGee. We go to various restaurants, have a good time, meet friends, go to conference, go out, just travel and have fun. She loves traveling. Oh, I would fingers and toes done too.
We get 2 for the price of 1.
Oh yeah, she's my tag team.
For the price of 1.
She's my tag team. She is.
Well, that concludes our questions.
Okay.
They may have some follow-up questions for you.
Chuck? Mr. Ard, any questions? He may be cooking right now, I guess, I'm not sure. Brandon, I don't have many questions, but I want to tell you thank you for being here, and I'm I'm sorry it has, I guess, progressed in the way it has. It should have been done a different way, and I want to apologize for that up front from this council. But I've known you for a long time. And I have seen those years of, that you have turned your life around.
Yes, ma'am.
And I appreciate you, and when you start with, you feel this is a calling on your life, to me, that makes a difference. To some people, it's a job. They feel, they need to help some kids along, but when you feel it as a calling, because I have that same calling,
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
it eats at you if you're not doing it.
Yes, ma'am.
You have a family that supports you. I've seen that throughout the years. Obviously, I don't think the 24/7 is going to bother you. You've done that since you started. And you have the backup of your family. I know that you've worked for the school system, have a great relationship with them.
I do. Yes, ma'am.
And to me, that's very important. DYS to me is extremely important because currently we're looking at about 5,000 kids who in our city of Decatur, Alabama, are in need of something.
Yes, ma'am.
And if we, the adults of the city, don't provide that for them, like you said, if we're not that example, if we're not the ones that believe in them, they're not going to make it to the next level. And that is going to then, in years to come, hurt our city.
Yes, ma'am.
But not only our city, but their lives. And the differences you make in their lives is significant. So I thank you for that. And I think when we talk about diversity too, you've worked with the school system in long-term case. You could probably tell me every race that the school system has that you've worked with, right?
Yes, sir.
And probably the families.
Oh.
I don't see you being intimidated by going into any home and talking with a family and being Brandon. And I think that's a wonderful thing, Brandon. And thank you for the service you've done for our city and your beautiful wife too. Thank you.
I want to add to what, I'm sorry, someone trying to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to say I hit the wrong button when you asked me if I had any questions. I do not, but I want to thank Mr. Watkins for coming in.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
I want to say that regardless of what the outcome is here and in this process, I want to thank you for all the things that you've done in our community
Yes, sir.
throughout these years that you've been involved in the community.
Thank you, sir.
You know, of course, my wife is a principal as well.
Yes, sir.
Dr. Jackson's a principal,
I'm afraid.
and I spoke with her about you.
We had a case we did together.
Okay,
Got
well,
it.
she had nothing but really, really, really good and positive things to say about you,
Thank you, sir.
and which excited me even more. So I'm thrilled that you're here today, and I'm just thrilled that we have people like you in the community. It means a lot for us to have people who contribute to our community just because.
Yes, sir.
I mean, no real reason, just because. And I know that you have a story, and I'm appreciative for that story. And I'm appreciative for that story, not only the beginning part of it, but the outcome that we've had so far with your story. And I know that your story is not finished yet, but I just want to say that I'm very appreciative for your story from the beginning to where we are now with that story.
Thank you, sir.
And if I could try to reinforce some of the message here, you interview very well.
Thank you, sir.
I want to compliment you. I can only imagine me being in your seat. I think I'd probably have a total meltdown, if I was. Your passion obviously drives you. It keeps you operating at a very high speed too. And with some of the people that, whether you continue to do what you're doing or you step on to the next level, some of the people that you're going to communicate with are not going to be able to keep up with the speed of that level. So I caution you to bottle that passion, take a deep breath, and I think you'll do very well.
Oh, thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
I echo their sentiments, but I would like to go back to page number 7. I don't, if you have the packet, does he have the
No, sir.
packet?
No, ma'am, I don't have
No? Well, and I can tell you're very passionate, that word's been used, and joy-filled, and I think there's a lot of people that are lacking joy in
Yes,
their
ma'am.
life, and I can see that you have that.
Yes, ma'am.
And so, in regard to question number 5 on page 7, about motivating your team,
Yes,
you
ma'am.
spoke about being a motivational speaker, and I mean, I feel very empowered just being in here after hearing from you. But I know working with people, there are those. You shared a case where there was a woman that, she was treating the kids maybe like they were hers.
Yes,
Maybe
ma'am.
she was doing things that organizationally, procedurally, you don't
Yes,
do.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So what about that one that is a hard nut to crack? The one that's gonna keep doing what she or he wants to do, and you've talked to them 1 or 2 or 3 times. Do you have a process that, or an experience you can share?
Actually, the city have a process.
Well, yeah, we do, but your experience, you
My
have a dealings
experience,
where
my
that's
experience, I
happened.
have had that, and I had to follow the rules of the organization.
Yeah.
Which is a first write-up, second write-up, third write-up.
Right.
So when they come to that, when I have brought you in and sit you down, and you just refuse to do it, we got to then take the procedures of what is in place, because no one want to get sued by just filing on it. So with me, whatever organization I was in, what the process was on paper, that's the process I took. Once I have given you all of it, you just refuse to do. And most times it's like a first write-up, second write-up, and third write-up. And then HR got to know about you. And it's not hollering or nothing like that. Just how, because not, that individual's gonna spur into the crowd. They're gonna have everybody acting like that.
I know, and I was wondering if you had a case where that's happened, where that maybe there was someone that you were able to kind of get to fall back in line, or maybe you just
I'll
had
be
to
honest
write
with
them
you.
up 3 times and you had to let them go because of that. Any examples?
No, ma'am, I haven't.
That's good.
I'll be honest with you. Everybody, and I do it with lots of people.
Yeah.
I have it. My wife said, you are too of a people person.
Yeah.
She said, everybody, my thing is, when it comes to that, at the beginning, let them know, okay, let me tell you what I do. I let them know my heart, who I am. And if you're on my team, you'll follow behind me. You're going to have hiccups, but this is my heart, and this is my passion. And all this adults at the end, and I always tell people with me, I need your help. No matter how they are, guys, I need your help. You are on my team because I need your help. And I know that's your weakness we can work with, but if you continue to do it, we got to take the proper challenge that's in place with this organization. And that's how I am.
Okay, well, I appreciate you elaborating. I just wanted to ask if you
Thank
had
you,
any
no problem.
experience.
Yes, ma'am.
So thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have any questions or last words?
My last word is, thank you guys for this opportunity. I appreciate it, all you guys. And to be here is mind blowing. Thank y'all for making my mama smile today. That her son name is not in the paper bad, but it's in the paper for something you're aware. She will not have a heart attack. She will live lifelong. But on a serious, thank you guys. Y'all did a great job for the city. I appreciate it. And I know without a shadow of a doubt, you guys are making the best decision, and I support it full-heartedly. Thank you guys again.
Thank you, Brandon.
Thank you, sir.
All right, do you need a minute?
Out to the restroom.
Okay, we'll give just a moment, and Herman, will you see if Mr. Murphy Brown's out there? Okay, thank you. He is, okay. He can go ahead and come in, and Mrs. Hill's going to go to the restroom, and we'll be right back. He sure did. Yeah, Christy's gonna run to the restroom, and we'll get Murphy set down. Only a minute though, Stacy.
I know.
Here she comes, I see her, she's coming down the hall now.
Hey, Murphy. How are you? Good. Good to see you. Good to be seen.
It's been a while.
It has.
All righty, we're ready to start back up. This will be the interview of Mr. Murphy Brown for the DYS position. I've been asked by legal, if you're in the room, please wear your mask if you're not talking or speaking in the interview, and we'll go. So, Murphy, great to have you today. Michelle, we'll let you start.
Thank you for giving us an opportunity. This is a structured panel interview. We're going to ask the same questions you asked our candidate. Please take the time that you need and just as best as you can. I'm asking the questions, but address the council if you can. And I thought this was stressful. All right. So the members of the panel have already reviewed your resume and your application. So please provide a brief summary of the highlights of your career, your experiences that you feel make you uniquely qualified to be the next director of the youth services department.
Well, thank you, and I know that it's been a process of making a decision about the director's position, and would have been in an earlier process had I felt it warranted it, but at the time it felt like a plan had been put in place, and so I didn't bother to do it. Would have gladly put my name in the hat for a position because it's pretty much a passion of mine. My whole life has been centered around working with children, youth, and families, my entire career. When I walked out of college, I wandered into Charter Retreat Hospital in 1979. And my first job was working in the psychiatric unit with children and adolescents. Very quickly was able to show my skills and passion for the job, and within a short period of time I had one of the really coolest jobs in the process, that 10-year process of working with Charter. And in that 10-year period, I ended up getting a job where the federal government came to Decatur seeking someone to do, back in the day, what was referred to as the CEDAR program. You all are old enough to remember they had these job programs for youth. But this one was a very special program that and I was 24 years old at the time, very special program where it was a youth employment training program that the government wanted to try to see if it worked. And I was selected to take that job, where I was placed in Morgan County Juvenile Court, working with the court system and children that are economically disadvantaged, in trouble with the law and in trouble in school. They had a gamut of everything. They touched hundreds of agencies. And I was awarded that position. I was given a counselor, a master's level therapist, and a school teacher. My job was to pay the students while they go to school, get counseling, and get a job. I was to place them on the job and oversee the counseling and the educational piece. And I'm going to bore you with this story because I think it's the story that created me today in my understanding of what it takes to work with children and adolescents. The job program, I was placing kids randomly, and I tell you, I made some horrible mistakes during those days. One of the 24 years old, one of the worst decisions I made was to put a young lady that was 21 and had been to prison and back in the community. She said she wanted to work with kids. I put her at the Boys and Girls Club, of all places, bad mistake. In arts and crafts, she thought it was cool to show the kids how to roll a joint. So that's how street-wise these people that I was having to work with. One guy, to make a long story short, changed my life from this community. Placed him on a job. He didn't go to work the first day. I go to his home to figure out why this guy didn't go to work. I knocked on the door, and I've never in my life seen a kid this intoxicated and high. To this day, I've not seen it. But I knew that I had to do something. I had no clue what to do at that age. But I did have the instincts, which I think has driven me these years. I have the instincts to know what to do. Come with me, put him in the car. We took a ride. I finally got the courage in this ride to ask him, Brent, what kind, see, I remember his name, Brent, what kind of drugs are you on? He laughed at me. He said, they had this stuff, man. I'm glad this stuff. Come on, kid. You know what? And I can cry right now because my counsel to that kid that moment was, well, this stuff's gonna kill you. I really can cry now because that's the first piece of advice I learned. That's the worst thing you can give somebody. That gave him nothing. 2 weeks later, he drowned over here at the River Bridge. You know what my counsel was again? I told that fool. But then I get to the group where all these other 40 kids that I'm servicing were in the group. This veil was lifted off of my eyes. This one was hot. I could see it. I could smell it on this one. This one staggered in the room. This one I smelled marijuana on. This one it was like, it scared me to death. What scared me is really pretty selfish. What scared me was that I was fixing to fail with all 40 of these kids, because they all gonna die, and they all on my caseload. I don't know what to do. I didn't know what to do. That day, because this veil was lifted, I had a commitment that I must know what to do. I would never get caught like that again. So I'm happy to report today. Please don't hear this as being cocky or arrogant, but I personally believe, and I sit here with a lot of confidence, they tell me that I think I know everything that goes wrong with a child, because I had to learn. Now, having said that, let me tell you right quick what those things are. I'll put it in this category. 4 things can really go wrong with a child. Number 1, medical. If a child ever gets sick medically, you can confuse it with a whole lot of things. You can confuse it with a child that's crazy because he acted crazy because it's diabetes. A juvenile diabetes looks pretty crazy. It looks crazy. It looks like somebody has lost their mind because they lose anybody that has a sugar dysfunction. It will cause you to act out in a way that's not normal. You can confuse that if you're trigger-handed, because you could say, that's psychotic, I'm gonna give him this drug. You just messed up. Then there's depression. If a child is not medically sick, that's why I tell parents all the time, when I'm assessing children, have you taken them to the doctor? He's medically stable, he's depressed. Now, why do kids get depressed? Because the dog died, or because I lost my boyfriend, or because my parents got divorced. There's a million reasons. You got to figure that out at that point. If it's not that, well, excuse me, let me back up one more, because number 2, and then this order, is substance abuse. And in this order, medical substance abuse. Because if you miss that, and you got to learn how to figure that out. You overrule substance abuse. Once you've overruled substance abuse, if it's not that, if you've done your homework and you know it's not that, and the only way you know it's not that is you drug tested them, because those kids won't tell you the truth. You drug test, you overrule it. Then depression. That was the reason. 4th is the school stuff. Developmental disabling, developmental learning, hyperactivity, attention deficit disorder. Man, that'll throw a kid off so bad. And I've had it because somebody told me a few years ago, Berkeley missed one, where a child was born and raised. His family sometimes is so screwed up. That is a barrier for children to get over. So those are the 5 things that when you're assessing children and communities and people, you got to understand those things or you are not going to be helpful. I learned that many, many years ago. So from there, you know, I have traveled up in this community. I have served, my whole career has been centered around those 5 things and going into at-risk communities. And I can give you 200 stories of my impact right here in this community where I was called to go into the alternative schools and to the courts and oftentimes I get called in the more difficult cases because they know that I bring skill levels from a little higher level. I hate to say it that way, and I don't want to come across cocky, but I mean, sometimes I don't get the easy stuff. I get the more difficult kinds of situations because I'm prepared to deal with them. So I think the question was why. It's a natural fit. You know, Decatur, to me, is as important as everybody in this room. I got that same passion. I know the people in here. I know what you think about this city. Well, I feel that way too. I can't. Because I never left. I left college, came here, I landed here, I ain't gonna leave here, okay? I'm gonna commit, and you know what? I have job opportunities, but what? I wanna work in my community. I wanna work here. I wanna have the impact here. I wanna help make a difference in Decatur. So, that's the short answer.
Next question. For your describe the purpose and benefits of a municipal youth service organization.
Well, you know, I want to preface this by saying I know the entire history of Decatur Youth Services. I want to preface this conversation by saying that, and I'm going to share something here because I think it's safe to share. I know a lot about how we got here because I went to Huntsville in 1992 or so and had a conversation with Ray Green because I was in a similar situation as I am in today, kind of sort of available for work. Isn't that a nice way to put I need a job? And so I went to see Ray Green in Huntsville and asked Ray to provide me with what it took for Huntsville to get a youth services department. Will you give me what you had to do that? He gave it to me. I went straight back to Decatur and went to Bill Dukes' office and said, Mayor Dukes, we need this in Decatur. Well, of course, he said, well, Murphy, I can't just do that. It would require legislation, it would require council vote, it would require, I can't just do it. Well, about a month later, you all know I ran the real place down here back then. Bill Dukes walked into the restaurant and said, hey, Murphy, guess what? We got the approval for an advisory council. Sam Wright, Wilhelm Ragland, Naomi Griffin, that was some of the people that was on that committee to do a search to determine if this. And then Bill said, you are going to apply. Well, what happened was, with me in the real place, and I picked up another job by the time all of this had kind of developed, and I thought, you know, it would be a great opportunity, but, you know, I'm now kind of entrenched in the real place, and I don't want to be not able to give my 100% to the city, and people driving by burning cars at the real place. That would be a conflict, so I probably won't apply. But the mission of youth services is, as this has been laid out here, Bruce Jones did a fantastic job of making sure that this program got the kind of roots that it needs to be successful. It's as good as you find anywhere. I mean, I can brag about Decatur because I know I have worked very hand in hand with Bruce Jones over the years. In fact, a couple of the programs that's under Bruce's umbrella, I coined a couple of those. Boys to Men came right out of my mouth. I put that on paper. I talked about how to do it. And Bruce and I have worked hand in hand with multiple programs such as that. So the mission, obviously, is to have a safe community from the youth perspective, have a productive community so that youth have pathways to follow. As a community, we have to make sure that we are in the trenches and guiding that process because these children don't know. It's particularly the at-risk children. They're at risk because they don't take the initiative to do things. So a program like us has to drive the initiative for them. We have to be in front of them, showing them these different pathways that are available for them. I do so much of that right now until it's incredible. And I'll say this, I spent a couple years with a program that I designed called ALLEN, American Teens on the Move. And Billy, you were with us that day. We carried 25 guys over to the high school to meet with minority male students. Now, I've done enough studies and research to know that prisons are full of 24-year-olds. Now, why do you think that is? Here's why I think it is. When children leave the building at age 18, and sad to say, when I went to Austin High School and asked these kids that was exiting the building in 6 weeks, where are you going? You know, I had kids say things to me like, well, you know, I don't know. Have you applied for college? No. Do you have a financial aid workout? No. What you plan to do is just walk home, play basketball at Alabama. I said, for real? And you know, and I'm kind of silly in many ways. I said, you know what? I was thinking about doing that. Just to let him know how silly that sounded. He hadn't even applied, but that's what they, but anyway, so we carried a group of about 20, and I do that all the time. Grab up 20 guys and take them into the schools and say, what's the plan? What are you gonna do next? Why not? When I come back next week, I need an answer about this. And we go every week, we'll go every week until we force them to make some choices and some decisions about their careers. So youth services, I think, are those kinds of things. It's how do we really prepare our kids for, you know, one of the challenges our whole community has is workforce. And if we don't have these kids ready to take these jobs in our community, then other people are going to come in and take them. These kids are setting them up for prison if they're not setting themselves up for a career. So youth services have to step in and make sure that we're preparing children for jobs and or school or training. Calhoun's got wonderful stuff over there. But my challenge with Calhoun is where are you out here making sure these kids know what you offer? We've got to do a better job at that. So I hope I'm answering your question, but I think ultimately the mission is to provide the leadership for children in our community so that they're able to bridge themselves to the next step in their own lives. And sometimes that means bringing their families along. Because I don't know if this question will come up, but I've worked with initiatives here in the community where housing and issues in establishing wealth are important pieces. Because here's what I believe. If we can make children, if we can improve the family's lifestyle by getting them the next job, because some of these parents work in 2 jobs. Some of these parents just barely got a decent job. And if we could get them a better job in the industry by getting them trained, and if we can make their situation better, then almost always the children's life will improve. So being focused on those areas are critically important in terms of the future of the organization and how you actually include that family and have these conversations with that strengthening those families so that you're improving lifestyle for everybody that touch that child. That's in my opinion, the mission should include.
Working with families and youth, what do you think your strengths and your weaknesses are?
What strengths and weaknesses of working with you? Well, it's been a weird thing because all of my life, from being like a teenager or even earlier, 8, 9 years old, I knew I was a social worker because I could tell how kids responded to me, even younger kids. When I'm 8, 9, little kids would run to me. They would flock to me. And so I had a gift all my life. So, my strengths, I think, as an adult, is my insight around assessing and intervention skills. That's my strength. And so really, and my true strength is really, if I had to just pick a strength when it relates to my work, because of my work experience, I spent 8 years when I worked at Charter Hospital. I became program director pretty quickly when I was working there. And so I actually established their substance abuse program for them out of my Brent story. You know, I was able to convince them that if you're just treating psychiatric, you're missing half these kids. Because the substance abuse thing is so crippling. If we don't get that right, we're going to see kids die. And I saw that. I saw kids die while I was there. And I was the one that said, we got to put this in a place where we're focused on this because these kids are dying. And we got to have specific to this. A lot of them is not psych issues, it's the drugs. So, so in all that process, one of my real strengths came from working with 8, 9 psychiatrists every day. And I used to have to go to family therapy every day. And I would sit through 8 sessions every day, doing therapy with a doctor every day. I mean, this was like 8 hours a day some days. I'm in therapy. And it became such a cool thing because some of the doctors every now and then, and very difficult issues, man. Very difficult issues. Like this child's daddy reported to me that she was molested by her own daddy, a businessman in the business community, and that's why she's not doing her work. Now, I wish I had time, I'd tell you about the clever ways I got her to tell me how she finally tells somebody what the problem was. So, sitting in therapy with sessions like that, every now and then I would get a shocker about a doctor, and we go in, everybody in the room, we're sitting there, and you know, the cool question in therapy is, well, who can tell me what's going on? Of course, you don't want to look at nobody because you want to see who think they're in charge. So you go in therapy session and you go, and so the doc looked at me in the middle of one of these really heavy ones. Murphy, why don't you go ahead and lead this session? You're in the headlights, right? There's some hard stuff. But so I became very aware. I became knowledgeable. I became skilled in family therapy and working in family groups. And I became very skilled at working with families. I used to do multifamily groups that was so cool. So I became very skilled at that. And I said, so for me, really, man, I think I've been running these STEM camps during the summer because of middle school kids. You know, I have a structured thoughts about the development of teenagers and children. Now, again, man, I hate to bring up stuff like this, but the pre-K program in K, my handprints are all over it. To the degree that at some couple of the breakfasts, we put about 20 grand on the front end to try to help, because our mission, before the governor decided to support pre-K, my guys and myself took on an initiative that we're going to stop this talk about not having pre-K in our community. We're going to stop this talk. We're going to develop pre-K. We found out, well, we got to raise $1 million, but we scratched our head, but we kept plunging, okay? So we go into these sessions, and the name Starting Strong was coined at our table. That is our pre-K program here in this community right now today. It's called Starting Strong. Chuck will tell you, he was a part of that process when it was developed, but the name. And what happened was the Quality Education Committee at the Chamber took back over it and kind of took that pressure off for us to raise all that money. But we didn't care who did it, because at the end of the day, it gets done. It's done in our community, and we're happy. So we were cool with that, because we had a plan to do. So, and I see a question about my strengths. So yes. So I think that I'm really honest in my opinion about myself. I'm like a tree with a lot of branches. And the tree is deeply rooted, a lot of strengths. If you cut a branch off, you just made room for one to grow. Because I'm connected. And my strengths are my people skills. Man, you're talking about, listen, I have the God-given gift of picking up the phone and making phone calls. Listen, I got this process we're doing now for the past 4 years. We have created a coalition of church pastors in this community. The whole intent of that was to, in the event that this city blows up with the crises that we see across town, and see, I'm a believer in boardroom diplomacy. You won't catch me too much out on the street picketing. But what you will catch me doing is thinking about how to get in the trenches with the leadership and talk about how we're going to fix this. And so we have a coalition of pastors that are formed in this community. And one of the most favorite things will happen, Mayor, over at your boardroom there, our boardroom here. And all those mega pastors came into a meeting here, our first meeting here, and I sat there, I'm chairing the meeting, and I looked across the room and saw all the mega pastors. I mean, everyone on First Baptist, Central Baptist, Presbyterian, of these guys sitting there, I'm thinking, man, guys up in here, you know, look at this. It was amazing to see, and you know what's amazing to me, is they don't really get together on their own. They don't, I mean, sometimes, but not like this. But I am confident. And the whole purpose of that coalition was that if it breaks crazy here, like we've seen with race riots, and that a phone call would immediately be made by the chief of police. He would either call me or the chairman of the coalition. And we would immediately reach out to all these pastors, and we would converge here at this city hall, just like that, on an emergency basis. Now, for the past 4 years, these pastors have been, because it's important that they forge a relationship, that they know each other, and they're not stepping out on the front line making like they know each other. That would be like terrible, because people would see through that. But these guys have been forging relationships. They've gone to Memphis for the 50th Dr. Martin Luther King celebration. A bunch of pastors from here went there. And so, you know, I'm really a visionary person because I actually asked the chief of police 4 years ago to put in a advisory council, which is now 4 years later being put in. I'm just gonna say it. Now I have another idea about what we ought to be doing. And I've planted those seeds out there about what we ought to be doing. And there are people in position to get those things done as quickly as I'm ahead of it, okay? And I thank God that oftentimes I find myself a little ahead of where we should be. And so 4 years ago, we offered advisory council. It was resisted. Now it's in place. Now I'm saying we still need the next level here. So I think I'm still on leadership, and I think I probably should be quiet.
What's your weakness?
My weakness
Is.
weakness is.
But we can go with this one.
Well,
Come on, pick yourself up.
no, well, over talking. You know, man, I work on a lot of stuff every day. And I tell you what I'm working on more right now than anything. And this is a really big one, man. I hate to expose myself like this. But listen, man, I think sometimes nonverbal communication is critical. And what I don't say, and like, for example, you say something to me and I'm going, all them faces, you know, and I be like, you can tell, I mean, I want to stop that, okay? I want to be able to be a better,
Poke face.
yeah, I mean, better than that. You know what I mean? I've got to, and I mean, I go, and the other thing is any conversation, I try to listen. Then when I speak, I get cut off on that third time, I'm probably going to be a little ballistic because, you know, but I got to work on that too because I've been some of the greatest people I know. One of those guys from Decatur, Alabama, Mr. Man, he's been successful. Derek Rice. Y'all know Derek. Brilliant, man. I mean, I've been in these conversations with him, and he perfects that. He perfects being able to listen. Even if you cut him off 20 times, and he perfects it. And I say, I want to be like that. Yeah, but so those are weaknesses for me. Those are things that create challenges for me. Those are things for me, really, those are things that I'm working on constantly. Okay?
Can you what?
I didn't hear the question.
Can you forgive? Listen, man, not forgiving is bad for your spirit. It will either hold you while other people are doing their deal. So yeah, absolutely. Matter of fact, yes, easily. Yes, I can forgive completely, yes. It's important that you do, yeah. Well, they'll bury you right next to the person you hated. They'll bury you right next to them because and then you live in hell, and for real, because you wouldn't forgive and then you died and then they buried you next to that problem.
Question, briefly describe your leadership style.
Well, here's the thing. You can't not steer a ship that's not on board, right? So you gotta try to get everybody on board with where you're going and try to go forward from there. And my leadership style is listen, I believe in, I mentioned in an earlier conversation with somebody, as a leader, I believe this. Come to the table with a plan. Do not be married to your plan. Because somebody may have a better idea than what you have. But take the plan to the table in writing. Lay it on the table. Here's where I think we need to go. Well, I don't like that plan, okay? Tell me what about it you really don't like. Which parts of it? Okay, that one right there, that one right there. Okay, I get that. That's good. That's good. So do you have a better suggestion on what would be better to make that? Because see, when I walk in the room with a plan, I still have a capability of leaving the room with a plan because we're going to try to fix it to make it where it works for everybody. We still got a plan. We still have a direction. But I will never go to a meeting where I don't have that because it's like this otherwise. Because everybody got an idea. Everybody got a plan. We got to formulate one that we can agree to and go in that direction. As a leadership style, I know there's some technical names you can use, but here's the thing. I will never ask you to do something that I won't do myself, okay? I will never ask you. I mean, I own these restaurants. And the reason they like me from the corporate side is they sent these corporate people in to train, and they were looking for me. I was back there washing the dishes. Because I know that's just as important as the service going out the front door. I will never ask you to do something that I will not do myself. But now, if I ask you to do it, and then I have to go do it myself, then you're going to have to have another conversation. Really, okay? We need to talk. We need to get a better understanding about my role and your role and how we're going to make those roles work together. As a leader. So, listening, again, is critical in leadership. If you don't, really understanding where people are coming from, those are all my counseling skills. As I said, I've been in counseling, and interventions, and assessments, and evaluations. I've done that extensively. So being able to listen and to, I'm a social worker. 99.9% of what I have to do with my job and in my work is solve problems. I mean, that's just what I do. That's just what the jobs usually call us for, solving problems. A lot of problems, and so we got to move forward. So a lot of problem solving stuff, a lot of involving people, a lot of not being an authoritarian kind of person. I like input. I do need people to understand because I work with a lot of chiefs. You know what I mean? A lot of leaders at the table. And so what you have to have in that situation with all these chiefs at the table, okay, chief, I understand. I want you to tell me what you think. Doesn't mean I'm going to do what you say to do, but I want you to give me all this information as the leader so I can make a good decision based on everybody's input. Now, I may not do what you wanted me to do, and I may do parts of what you want, but if you install the leadership role in me, then sometimes I'm going to make decisions that's not going to be popular with everybody. But that's why I asked for everybody's opinion. Didn't mean I ignored your opinion, didn't mean I didn't value your opinion. It means that I got 90 opinions, and between the 90 or the 10 opinions I got to come to a decision as the leader. So allow me to do that, okay? But I do value your input. It helps. Because next week, there may be a situation that what you said made so much sense that I could still employ it because I knew coming. So the leadership style is to listen, take a lot of stuff in, make the best decision with a lot of prayer. Make the best decision. Because I can be sitting in a meeting, and it's one of those hard ones. And I promise you, I'll go into prayer mode in a heartbeat. I'm sitting there praying while all the tripping's going on. But I'm listening, and I'm praying. So I take it to a spiritual place so that I can be led,
Speaking of leadership, tell us about the most employees that you've managed at one time, and of those, did you have an
200? Well, let me lower that a little bit. Let me lower that to about 90 at one time. When you have 3 restaurants and 3 shifts, or 2 shifts, you could have a lot of people on payroll. And the second part of that question was, how did you help people overcome challenges?
Well, do you have a specific example of a performance challenge that you have to manage?
Well, let me preface this conversation by saying that the restaurant right here in Moulton Street, where I had Church's Chicken, I hired people in that restaurant that nobody brought. I had a bunch of thugs and a bunch of people that I had to train and work with every day. So did I help them overcome? Lord, yes. Because I had to make tough decisions every day with employee theft. That, you know, I had all the tools, the cameras and everything, but I would do little things that people knew that you're dealing with someone who's paying attention to the detail. I had cameras all over the place. And so I would see these guys, man, they thought they were slick, they'd go make a sandwich or fix a plate or two, and then they would go and get ready to go home, and they'd take the coat and throw it over the top of the food, and then they'd pick up the coat and take all the food out. And I said, now don't make me fire you over a sandwich. You know, so, but it was every day, all day in that. It was every day, all day, managing people. It was every day, all day, raising people up and bringing them back down because they didn't honor some things. It was constantly managing people all day, every day. I wish I could give you a nice, clean example of where I really, the one that I want to give you, I'm really kind of, it worked out just fine. One day, and this worked out just fine, I probably, if I had to do it over again, I don't know what I would do. But one of the cameras was right on the register, and I saw a girl that just stood up there and pickpocketed me to death one day. I should have fired her. I should have fired her, but I didn't. And she actually really honestly became one of the best employees I had. But I should have fired her. She gave back the money because I caught her, but I should have fired her. But I didn't, and she became a good employee and a good person. So when I told you about the youth employment training programs that I managed those kids back years ago, I still to this very day have some of those kids. Now, here's the thing. Some of you may know, and I think it's okay to say, the head of the maintenance department over at the Morgan County Courthouse was a youth that I worked with back then. He was the head of maintenance. I don't even know if this boy got a high school diploma or not. But I placed him at the job at the courthouse 30-something years ago. That boy, last I know, was working over here at the courthouse, and he doesn't see me anytime where he just doesn't, Murphy, thank you, man, you're my man. Never. So, I have 1,000 stories of people that I managed and supervised because I did a lot of youth employment training programs. And some of those folks are still very successful working the jobs that I placed them in years and years ago. And they're grateful people that when I see them in the community. So, you know, I chartered Retreat Hospital when I was the program director there. Man, I had some real challenges with people there. Just really because I went through that place of where you became a peer and then a leader of the peers. And that's hard. I managed it well and I survived it wonderfully and I did a great leadership, had that program grew exponentially and it was a great program, but it was hard going from a peer to a leader. That was one of the hardest jobs. Challenges came, man, and they sometimes came after me. And they brought up things that happened like when we were in training. That was 20 years ago. They brought up things back in the past that were not relevant to where we were getting. But from a management point of view, I'll tell you this one right here that was really cool from managing tough situations. May not be an employee, but I was president of Rotary Club. And man, I had some serious challenges doing that, because there were a couple things that transpired inside the membership where there was a gentleman that was trying to do some things that were not the truth. But everybody didn't know it wasn't the truth. And he had brought some really high-level people on board with him. And so when we gathered around the table with some of those high-level people to say, there's a problem here, we gathered around the table, I'm the president. And here's when I say to you, I have those instincts. I have those instincts that when we gathered around the table, I looked around the table to see who was with me and who was on my board. I backed out and said, hey, Ronnie and Harvey and so-and-so, do me a favor and kind of highlight what's going on here so that these folks do. So it didn't come from me. It came from other board members to kind of, so that's an instinct, an intuitive thing that you use the tools around you to help you navigate and problem solve.
Just real quickly, tell us about the largest budget that you've developed and managed. And have you ever had a capital expenditure?
Yes, the largest budget was, I managed personally, was 1.6 million, 1.6, 1.8. That I managed that budget. You know, I can't really, and then there was several in that area, because when I managed the programs at Radford. Radford had some program responsibilities but I only saw that piece of the budget that I was working with. So, you know, I wasn't with the CFO, but I understood what my challenges were. But the 1.6, yes. And in terms of capital budgets, whether the church's chicken that sits over in Huntsville next to Krispy Kreme donut, I built that from the ground myself. I know every nail that got through. And I'm fortunate to say that the church over here, West Side, that's over on 10th Avenue Northwest, I actually, every nail, I know every nail that went in and who put it in there. So I've actually managed several projects like that. The 1.6 million would have been, and 1.8 million would have been the church's budget, my own stuff that I was managing to do that. And from the corporate side, I've never been responsible for the corporate budget, but obviously I've had some budgetary confinement and restrictions and some teams, my units, you know. So some of those were in the 1.5 million, 1.6 million.
Briefly tell us how you would facilitate change. If you were successful to be the subject candidate, you step into an organization that's been around for a little while. How would you, if you saw the necessary or the need for change, what would be the steps you would take?
Well, I mentioned a second ago, you know, change is going to happen. Nothing stays the same. Everything must change. So obviously you want to understand where it is you need to go. You want to see what it takes to get your team on board with the direction. You want to set the direction. You mean, go back to that ship scenario again. You can't steer a ship that's not going forward. So you point the ship forward and you get the momentum, you're going forward. And what, you know, here's the thing that I think about change. There are going to be some challenges. There's going to be some people that's going to resist change. That's natural. I don't like it. I've had to go through some things that I thought were not in the best interest of even the organization. But here's what I've learned. If I'm responsible for directing the change, I'm going to try to get as much consensus as I can from the team. And at that point in time, if it's not a choice that we have in the matter, I mean, you know, when you talk about change, look at what's happened to our world, our community. Look how much we all have had to change. Look at how when rules started coming out that everybody got to wear a mask, and you get people that say, I don't want to wear no mask, that's crazy, and there's resistance, and you get that kind of resistance that, but you know, the choice is really not yours, it's safety of everybody. And so when you begin to make changes like that, sometimes you're going to have people that doesn't agree with it. And you do what you can, you kind of bring them along, and you kind of tell them, you know, tell them the rules. I mean, I don't make the rules, so I can't break the rules. We've got to comply with these rules, and you must comply. We don't have a problem. So, you know, but in terms of just other things that's got to change, and the people changes, and the structure changes, and I think just to go slow, you know, because when you're dealing with people, you got to bring them along. It's a lot better if you bring them along. I don't like to force things down people's throats. That's just, you know, they'll do it only because they have to. As soon as they turn their back, they're going to do it their way. But so how do you change people's attitude and perception? I think if you give people good information, they make wise decisions. So I believe in giving them good information so they can begin to make decisions based on the information that they have. So I think education and information goes a long way in communication and trying to get people to understand, I need you with me on this. We gotta go, and I really need, I'd rather have you with me than go without you. So can I get you to think about it?
This is probably a good time to interject this. How close do we live to each other?
And well, I can throw a rock down there at my age, still. Yeah.
All right, and since I've had the opportunity to serve on this level, and, we had some tough conversations.
Yes, we have. Yes, sir.
And we've maintained our, okay?
Absolutely.
All right, so would there be any conflicts there with, if you were to, if the council were to find favor with you in this role of working next to, with me, if I were to be able to continue in this role over the next 4 years, that present any issues?
Mayor, at the end of the day, you know, there's a chain of command that has to be managed and dealt with. If you're my supervisor, I promise you that that's how I will respect and treat you at all times. I will never veer from that. I will completely honor your position. And I've done that. I've done that, and I will continue to do that. I mean, that's not, whoever my supervisor will be, I'm going to honor that position because, you know, the Bible tells you to honor authority. And so I'm going to absolutely honor whoever, I'm not going to disrespect your position. I mean, I agree with your decision, and I'm okay, and I hope you're okay with saying, well, you know, Mayor, no, I'm okay with saying, look, listen, man, let's give it a try. Even if I don't agree, I've learned to say, let's try it that way. And I go do my, if anybody can do it, I can. Even if I don't necessarily believe in it, if that's the direction you, as my supervisor said, because that's what I expect from the people that I have to deal with. I need you to kind of respect the position. I may not agree with today, because I mean, I know where I'm getting I know where my directives are coming from. And so I've been given a directive to do it, so.
I think the toughest thing that I've done since I've been here was to have to sit down with Bruce, knowing that all that he had put into finding a spot, if you will, at Brookhaven for youth services. There was a spot. We finally had a facility, and tell him that he had to leave that facility. And while he was like you just described, you could see the blood coming down where he bite his tongue. It goes hand in hand with what you're saying. But, there's tough things that come along.
Murphy, if I could, at this area of the questions, I did ask the other applicant, and I feel it's necessary to ask you the same. And I know that you've come close already on this question. We're facing a new world, a new normal with this COVID situation. Chambers had to change things they do. Council in the cities had to change things they do. Fire department, police department, they've all had to change. In this youth services scenario, with a new normal that the end point is not known, it's very unknown, would you feel comfortable having to change things going forward?
Well, safety is the reason for the changes here. It's a necessary change. So regardless to, if I'm the person selected, regardless to everything else that's going on there at that agency, I can assure you that because we're asking people to go out on the front line every day, we're trying to create a way to get to the front line every day, I can assure you that safety, not only for the people that represent the city, but for the people that they're going to serve, that we go in with a mindset of safety. Even if the families that we're going to serve, let's make sure that they're getting what they need to from a safety point of view. Because if we have to start there in everything we think safe to do. Or is it safe? Can we do anything to make it safe? You know, is it soap that these people need in their home because they can't, is it the mask that they need in their home because they don't have it? They can't afford it. The safety first, okay? So that will be the number one priority, to review that from the top to the bottom, to make sure that everybody is protected from a safety point of view. That's the reason for those changes, Charles. We're trying to make sure that the world remains safe through this pandemic.
Thank you.
So the change is necessary and easy.
We're almost there. A few more questions. So I'm sure you're aware this is on a Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 on the job. Are there any limitations to your availability? And what would you do to overcome those?
I didn't know any job was 9 to 5. I've never had one of those. You know what? My phone number is sold in the world. I mean, anybody who needs to reach out to Murphy Brown, you call the phone. And you know, I respond. I don't ignore my phone calls. I just never done that. I just think that I'm a servant. I'm here to serve. And there is no time limit on when you do that. You just have to be available to do it. You know, I'm responsible. You know, I'm responsible for it. So I wouldn't ask for it if I wasn't willing to be completely responsible for it.
You can find your definition, tell us what you believe diversity means.
Inclusion. That's pretty simple, you know. That's you know, one of my favorite people that I've been trying to get to come to Decatur is the AT&T CEO. Man, this guy's incredible. He does a speech on diversity that I've never. He talks about why it's important, why it matters, why it means, why it makes things better, how it makes your company perform better. How AT&T director, this guy's incredible around dealing with that subject. So I try hard to be an indicator of his message. So diversity means inclusion. Yeah.
Say your role model for your work ethic and why.
My wife. Oh yeah, man, she's literally a stickler for every detail. I'm so grateful to have her around me because she won't let me do those things. You know what I mean? She puts the pressure on me to be like her. But she is like, really, she is like I've never seen anything like, you're talking Energizer Bunny. I be thinking, man, okay, here we go. But she doesn't play, okay? She's like, just all the time. And she's special. Yeah. She keeps me going. I mean, really.
I ask you questions. What 3 things in your career and or your personal life have given you the most satisfaction?
My family, number one. Oh, my relationship with God, I just said, look, I mean, because I don't ever remember not being church my whole life. And man, my dad, my dad's my stepdad. And he's a pastor for 50 years he did. And, my parents, I should say, because those were the coolest people that everyone should think. But my dad, even to this day, he's my stepdad. But I cannot give you 1 ounce of nothing. If you're looking for something to bury him, to trash him with, you can't get it from me. I don't have anything. I have nothing. I can't give you no, nothing, because Leo Owens is the straightest. You don't know the difference between me and his children. Matter of fact, he'll tell you sometime, well, me and Murphy, if anybody knows me, Murphy does, and in a lot of cases, we're closer than some of my, he's a pastor and a leader, and I can go to him with anything. He's the most non-judgmental man I've ever talked to in my life, and he just full of wisdom. I know that kept those things close to me, and I could give you 3 outside of me just as quickly, but those 3 were easy, okay?
Sounds really busy, into a lot of things, managing a lot of community efforts. What do you do to relieve stress?
Every time I get out there and walk and run everyone, I'm pretty healthy. I stay pretty active. I enjoy golf. It doesn't like me very well, but one of these days I'm gonna get him one day. He's looking, no way, he said, ain't gonna happen. I haven't got close yet, but I enjoy it. We do a, camaraderie with that quite a bit. I read a lot, I have to read a lot to just kind of, I actually read things that I think helps me to articulate better, to understand better. I read a lot of things. I've started writing a lot here lately. One of these days I might be able to compile some of the things that you've heard me talk about today. I may be able to eventually, and I've actually started. I actually have a good, working on it. So those things are relaxing, and I have children. My baby is 13 years old. So as you can see, that means I need to be working, and so she keeps me very busy, and she wants to play basketball. And so, I'm having to try to keep that going all the time. So it's never a dull moment when you have teenagers at home. So you're constantly trying to pour into them and providing opportunities for them to see things and be exposed to things. So, stress relievers are really family time. It's really important to me. So we actually do take the time to spend time.
That's all the questions that we have prepared. Any follow-up questions?
Anybody on council? Questions?
I don't have any questions.
Murphy, I don't have any questions. I want to thank you for what you've done in our community. You're a solid leader and have been for years, and I thank you for that. I want to apologize for the way today's interview came about. I think you should have been on the front end of that, and I think we're righting a wrong. So thank you for walking through us with that.
Very good.
But thank you for what you do for our city.
You interviewed well, you're very polished.
It's the truth.
Chuck, do you have
I would
anything?
also I would just like to thank Murphy for coming and applying, and I also want to thank him for everything that he's done for our community as well. So thank you, Murphy.
Chuck, I didn't know you were there. Thank you.
Been here the whole time.
Okay.
Still anyone else?
I just echo those sentiments. I think a lot of you have a high regard for you. I do think you interviewed very well, and I think you have a lot of experience as far as being a leader in this position that would fit, a natural fit as well.
Any questions for us?
How do you recognize, you received an award a couple of years ago from the city. What was the award?
Citizen of the Year. Aisling Banks, Citizen of the Year, Ms. Banks. So that was like an honor.
Citizen of the Year.
Any questions for us, Murphy?
Well, I would ask one for sure. And I know that you all have been overseeing the department. I mean, what do you really see as the challenges facing that department going forward? What do you all see as the direction of things you need to kind of take?
Anybody want to start that?
I'll let you go.
Murphy, I would like to see, and I think that we've said this in the first round of interviews, to me, it's going to take a team. We have a great amount of children here, 5,000 in excess of, that qualify for services and need direction need positive role models in their life. And we can't do it as a city alone. I'd love to say we could, but I don't know that we have enough money to do that. So we must partner with the school system. We have an amazing school system here in Decatur with a great superintendent. We have great principals. We have great social workers and caseworkers. That has got to be a solid partnership there for me. We have other agencies like Boys and Girls Club, do the same thing essentially. We can't be on different pages. We all have to work together because our goal is the same thing. And I think to be successful, we all must work together. And that's what I see for the vision of DYS, and I think it'll be so successful once all these agencies go on the same page and are ready to work for our kids.
Very good, very good.
Chuck, do you have anything?
No, I do not. Thank you.
Mr. Kirby, Ms. Hill?
No, I think that was a good summary you stated.
Thank you, Murphy.
Thank you,
I
Murphy.
appreciate it, and I will say that I would not be here unless I thought I would be able to be that guy and force to get us to the next level. It's always, what is that next level, how do we get there? I think that I still have the energy and passion and the momentum to move it to the next level. I think I can do that. I think I can do it with calmness. I think I can do it with assertive of directions. I think I can do it in a peaceful way, in an effective way. So, and have the impact that the city is seeking for our community and these children. I really think that I can get it done. So I appreciate the opportunity to talk with you all, and I will look forward to, I will eagerly await your decision.
One more question.
Yes, sir.
That young girl that has an interest in basketball, where are you going to find somebody who wants to help her?
I'm looking at you. I'm looking at you. I'm going to say her over.
She's got the best at home.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you, Murphy.
Thank you all so much. Appreciate it.
Okay, we're going to take just a moment for Mrs. Hill. And we will directly go into the rest of the meeting. Thanks, sir.
Rico, gotta ask you something. Thank you, John. I saw something on Facebook the other night where you in your black. Yeah, is that the same one, or did you do it again? What, it was a request, and you actually,
No, I was gonna wind it back up for you.
oh man, what you say? Oh man, you kill me. Oh yeah, okay, yeah, she loved it. No, I thought it was it Valentine? It might have been. It might have been. Something serious. Something serious. Yeah, something serious.
We're proceeding forward, thank you. Resolution number 2201, approval to provide Tier 1 benefits to Tier 2 plan members.
Make a motion.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Jackson, a second by Mrs. Hill. Any discussion?
Could Ms. Sandlin just give us a brief overview of essentially what it does? Just a brief outline would be sufficient.
Thank you.
Essentially, what it does is permit more newly hired employees since 2013 to receive the Tier 1 level benefits. So there's a higher level of mandatory contribution on the employees' half and on the employers' half. On the back end at retirement, there's a little bit of a greater benefit for those folks. They can retire a little earlier. The differences in the Tier 1 retirement dates and the Tier 2 retirement dates. So it's for the benefit of our employees in the long term.
Actually, it's a lot earlier if you start working earlier. I don't understand the logic, as I said before, the logic that went into the decision-making that created this. But I do have one question for Herman. I was reading something, Herman, where it said that, well, I guess I should ask you, is there going to be a follow-up resolution where, because let me get this straight. I was reading something that said basically that if the city at any point got to a position where they could not administer this or couldn't afford to do this, that it would have to go onto the shoulders of our employees. Now, of course, I don't ever see that happening, and I hope that we never come to that position, but I was thinking that we had to do some sort of resolution saying that that would be the case if we ever got to that. I thought that that was part of our agreement with the retirement system to do that. So is that going to be a part of a different resolution?
That's part of the package, John, you do this, that's part of the package. The fact says on there, last page.
Last page, okay. And then I'll read through it.
Basically, you're not able to pay it, then you have to raise.
Okay, so it's in here then. Okay, I just did,
While you're giving this opportunity, let's make sure, the Tier 2 employees will remain Tier 2 employees. Any new hires will remain Tier 2 employees. They will just get the advantage of these benefits that's just been described. So it's not magically making them a Tier 1. But
okay.
there are some benefits that they will not be able to receive, such as the health benefit after retirement, unless they pay for it.
I'm glad you said that because that better explains that last paragraph in that. I appreciate that.
Yeah, it took me a while to understand that, but that's what that's there for.
Yeah, I couldn't really figure that out either, but okay. So we don't have to do anything different than we're doing now so that the state's not going to, well, the retirement system's not going to come back and say that you haven't done X, Y, Z.
That's part of
Okay.
what we signed.
That's what I need to know. Thank you.
John, at our last work session, when this kind of came up in front of us, you gave us some guidance. This next budget year going to be roughly $132,000 in tax. That sound about right?
Yes, sir.
And successive years after that, it's reasonably close, like 134, 136. Like, is that in perpetuity, or will there be a time when
That's just
that
a
levels or
bump-
changes?
a bump in the payment, okay? It's gonna level off, it's gonna vary year to year, just like the retirement percentages vary year to year, based on what RSA comes out with. But this initial bump to get us up is about 132, and that continues on, and then there's the annual adjustments from RSA.
So that kind of increase will be pretty much in perpetuity?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you, John.
And I think what Herman said actually explained that better for me when he said that the new hires will be Tier 2 effectively. I think that cleared that question up for me, that it will be. It's going to be perpetual. Okay, I understand.
I just felt it was
Yeah.
important for us to know, because anytime we spend money in the future, that affects future councils.
Well, I agree.
And I think that needs to be clear.
I agree, but I think that last paragraph, go ahead.
In order to take advantage of the increased benefit, there's a cost involved. It's the employee picks it up, there's like a 2% bump in their contribution, and then there's an increase to the employer's contribution. That's basically done to catch up all these Tier 2 years to get them on even par.
Yeah.
That's where that actuarial comes in and does the analysis and came up with the 132.
Yeah, which again is what I said, they put it on us as municipalities, and then they made no provisions to kind of cover that, and now it's up to us to cover that.
Rochelle, I know
Correct, if you want
Yeah.
the benefits.
Yeah, I got
You
you.
know, again, what we talked about, the origin was for public safety employees, fire and police. When it went to the legislature, they changed it, said, no, we're gonna make it available for everybody.
Yeah.
But the initial was, let's not have 62-year-old firemen running up and down buildings with, you know, hoses on their back and everything else. It's not a very good incentive
Yeah,
to work.
which goes back to, it was not well thought out. Yeah.
Rochelle, obviously, this heavily affects police and fire. Do we have any other departments that are heavily impacted by this?
As in,
Well, especially, I think in police and fire, one of the biggest impacts is recruitment, you know, I know for that. But as far as those benefits that are paid, does it largely affect other departments besides police and fire?
what it does when you think of folks like our street department and our parks maintenance folks.
I talk to utilities, and the same thing affects them and how they hire their employees.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Do we have any idea if our school system is going to look at this as well, John? Just out of curiosity?
I do not.
Okay, I was just curious.
Mr. R., do you have anything?
No, I just, well, the one thing I want to say is that I agree with Billy, the statement that Herman made clarifying that the Tier 2 employees will still be Tier 2 employees clarifies the whole thing. Thank you.
Ms. Hill,
How about their copies?
anything else?
My final thing was, I was a little conflicted on this along the way, and many of our issues that we face aren't perfect. There's no just clear cut, got to be done this way, got to be done that way. But given the recruitment issue alone for police and fire, I just think whatever pain this inflicts, we're just going to have to deal with, and I'm going to support it.
Let me add this to it. Even across the street at our school system, this impacts recruitment there as well. And so, I mean, you know, we're already hurting in the state of Alabama as an educational system. And when we require our teachers to teach until they're 65 years old, you know, sometimes we get into a position where our teachers are just checking the box so that they can keep their job until they retire, if that's the case. And there's no new energy. And we heard about energy in our interview process. There's no new energy, and there's no, you know, I want to teach these kids, and I'm excited about this. And, you know, I don't think that, especially when you're near the bottom of the ladder in education, that we should be in a position where we're, you know, where our teachers aren't necessarily motivated for any other reason than they just want to teach. I mean, it shouldn't be because I've got to do this to reach my retirement. So I think that, again, I can't say it enough that there was not a lot of thought put into this. It hurts our school system, it hurts our employees, our fire department, our police department, our public works employees. So I'm appreciative that we're going to do this. Thank you, Rochelle, and anybody else who had a hand in this, and hopefully they'll consider that across the street as well.
Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Bibby.
Aye.
Art.
Aye.
Jackson.
Aye.
Hill.
Aye.
Kirby.
Aye.
Resolution 2201 passes with a 5-0 vote. Ms. Rochelle, I want to, or Ms. Allen, I'm sorry, make sure that, has everyone gotten with you on their their police chief, fire chief, I'm
I
sorry?
have not
I
yet,
haven't.
You have not? Could-
and I'll get it today.
Yeah.
Could y'all do that as soon as
I have
possible?
not.
Okay, if y'all could do that before maybe the weekend.
I thought we
hopefully.
had a couple of days for that.
If you could get it to me by tomorrow, I'll make sure you have a
Yeah.
summary by Monday.
Okay.
We'll need to set those up. Okay. All right, John, you have some budget.
We finished up the presentations by all the agencies. I gave you a sheet. Everyone is on this sheet except 911. 911, we still have to work the numbers a little. We've got to find where the redundancy is in the IT and everything else, and that's pretty much, once we get to that number, it is what it is, and it goes in the budget, so there's not much discussion there. You can see the history, 18 actuals, 19 actuals, the 20 requests, what they got in the 20 budget, the 21 requests, and what's in the 21 budget. Everyone is somewhat flat. There were some one-times at 20. I backed out when we put into the one that comes to mind is Princess Theater. They did some financial work and we gave them a little extra money for audit purposes, if you recall from last year, so they come down. So anyway, what I'd like to do is go start at the top, work our way down. The two on the bottom that are in orange are new requests, and just get a consensus on the number, and then we'll revise the budget if necessary.
John, let me ask you this. 911 the other day when it was presented, she did say 911 would now take care of the licensing fee that I think was housed in our IT department. Did we see the difference in that?
No, I got it. She gave me a draft of the agreement, and it was all bunched together in one number, so I have to get a breakout of what's the service part of the agreement, what's the IT part of the agreement, and then get with Brad and find out if there's any redundancy in any of those licenses. Because from what I understand in her presentation was the cost could come down if we already possessed a license for one of these systems that is being utilized. So we got to get to that point. And that's why we're not looking at any number right now.
So you'll get that number when you get it from her?
Yes.
Great, thank you.
John, and I know you're probably going to cover this already, but like on the Convention and Visitors Bureau, a much smaller number, and I'm going to guess that's based on projected revenue drops from the COVID scenario.
That 64.3%, that 643 is the result of us budgeting $1 million on the revenue side. All it is a percentage. I can put 5 million there and give them 64.3% of 5 million. They're gonna get 64.3% of whatever we collect.
What actually is really collected.
Okay, so we put in what we think is a reasonable number, because in our budget, we're looking at the 35.7%, how we're utilizing that. So if I put 5 million in the budget, it would impact us because we'd be spending that 35 of that 5 million, 35% of that 5 million. So we gotta keep it tight.
Very good. I just wanted to be sure I understand your projection here. The rest of it, I'm a little bit nervous about even sitting here trying to work it out when we don't have the whole budget in front of us with the last 2-year actual numbers and kind of an itemization of the proposed changes.
It's like we're chasing our tail.
You think you need this in order to get that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I agree with this, and I'm glad we are knowing this, but, I've read some emails on our financials from you, and it's a hard pill to swallow to even think that I can level fund these allocations when we've had to cut things from the budget. So I've already drafted an email to you with my thoughts on this, and I'm happy to send it. I don't have that in front of me, but it wasn't level funding.
Well, perhaps we can kind of compromise on this when we go over the budget and try to get some kind of itemized list of what we changed, and then we'll have some perspective on this, how it may change. Therefore, when we have the budget in front of us, we'll know a better picture. Maybe we can deal with it that way.
That's right, but we really need to go through item by item and assign a number.
Okay.
Either that or, we're never going to get to the finish line.
Right.
Because it's going to be constant.
All right.
Hey, John?
I didn't know that we were going to talk about this today. Obviously, I should have brought my notes. Maybe I can look at my drafts.
Sure.
Is that just what we're
John,
going to do today, or do
can you
want
send me
us to-
that sheet that you're talking about?
You should have gotten it in the package.
Okay.
If you have that email that we sent.
Chuck, I can make you a copy and bring it to you.
The 3 pages.
I can bring you a copy, Chuck.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh, I thought you wanted one now to work.
But I guess, going back to the 64.3%, you said we projected $1 million.
Yes,
And in 2019, it was 868.
correct, which meant it was.
So we increased that. I mean, of course, we projected higher revenues. And again, I said it last year, and I'll say it probably throughout time, for as long as I'm here. We didn't go on prior year revenues, of course, and we were making optimistic projections that.
Time out, let me.
Go ahead,
Yeah,
go ahead.
I hear what you're saying. Let me-
Because in this particular case, it shows how unrealistic that was.
No, the 20 budget was actually, the 20 budgeted revenue was actually $800,000 less than the 19 actual revenue. Okay? The 20 budget, the budget we're in right now, is $800,000 less than actual 19, FY19 revenue. So-
Revenues, of course. Yeah, I mean, the revenues are down.
So I don't think we're stretching it.
But the projections were considerably higher than we are now, where we are now.
No, 19, we projected, I don't know, 69 something, and we came in at 70. Okay, that was the 19 budget. The 20 budget was 69. So it, 69 and change, so it was actually less than the prior year.
I'll have to look back at that because that's not how I remembered. Okay, but okay, go ahead.
Now, 19, that might not have been the case. And I don't know those numbers offhand.
Yeah.
But I know for 20, that the budgeted revenue for 20, because we passed a budget for FY 20. I don't have the final 19 revenue numbers.
Because,
So I
that's
can't
right,
tell
because
you-
we've got months to come.
you
I
got
understand
approvals
that.
and everything else. So I can't tell you, like now, when we're dealing with the budget, what the 21 budget looks like compared to 20 revenue.
I understand. But you can tell, we can base that off of what our 20 revenues, I mean, what our, we can always go on prior year revenues.
Oh, we do, and this.
And that's the safest way to do it.
And this year, more than any year,
Yeah.
we had to look at it because of the COVID impact.
Okay.
And that's why, in particular with lodging, it's down because lodging and gas tax are probably the two hardest hit areas.
Okay.
So that's why, you know, in prior years, you know, the 868 is obviously a lot more than 1 million collected.
Yep.
Because 1 million would only give you 643, we're at 8 and almost 9 in 18. So you can see where, you know, we are being realistic and factoring in the impact.
Well, now, okay, never mind. Okay, thank you.
I'm seeing better what you were talking about now when you discuss it that way.
I had a thought. I know that it was brought up in the last discussion, and I believe, Herman, y'all are working on the resolution about the online sales tax, the 25% going to the school system. You're working on that, I trust?
That'll just be part of your budget when you pass the resolution, that'll just be in there.
Okay.
But what I'm saying is that we do a resolution that covers that, and we'll just adjust that language to cover what you just described.
Okay.
Yes, that
And-
answers yes, we're working on it.
Just a thought, and we can discuss it as council, and I would like to discuss it with the school board president, vice president, and Dr. Douglas as well. Actually, by law, when Melanie Maples was there, most of you know she just retired, we, as the city, can designate those funds to go to particular, we can earmark them, essentially. And that is possible. Some of these allocations, which most of us have talked about before in past years, that, for instance, the foster grandparents, the Decatur Youth Services, the Child Advocacy Center, and then Boys and Girls Clubs, that this year is a new request, those all go hand in hand with the school system. And, you know, I think that it could be a good compromise that when I think it's a good thing the city is then, Mr. Jackson said, I think best, if in 1985 the online sales tax had been there, it would have been a part of it. I believe it would have, just like he does. But I think we can, now that we're doing that, we can maybe take some of these allocations, and with the funds that go there, the online sales tax, ask the school system to pay for these and take these out of our allocations, and that would help a little. But I think these are, in my opinion, and I would want everyone else to look at those to see if there are any others that you think the school system, other kids benefit from, that I think are very valid requests. But again, I'd like to talk with the school system, but I feel like they are going to be more than gracious to get the 25%, and would probably be willing to work with the council in any way. But those are important programs. I know that they will tell you, the going in the youth services, I mean, the youth symphony and things like that. Those are very important things that every school participates in. So that would be something I think we could, and from my calculations, and even the Boys and Girls Club, I believe that was a $100,000 request, that's only about, what, $150,000 of them, we generate, what was about $500,000 that would
Right,
go?
but there's no, it's not in the 21 budget.
Okay, well, that could just be a possibility of
Yeah.
talking, and I don't mind, I am the liaison to education, I don't mind setting that up.
A discussion with them, we were saying.
Absolutely, and I would love to have another joint meeting, I think those are very productive for the city as a whole. Anyone else?
I'm good with that.
Anything else from anyone? John, do you feel good? Do you have any questions or comments about the budget? We do need to talk about a time to get together to go over the budget. Does anyone?
Were you still wanting to go over this line by
You
line?
still try to go over this?
Oh, well, I'm sorry, I thought we had already done that, I'm sorry. That's-
Yeah, I still gotta
Okay.
get numbers.
Okay, I understand, but we can look out towards the future. How long will it take you to do this?
We'll get them in today, I mean, that's,
Okay.
Mr. Hart has a copy now.
okay. It's that, like I said, there's some loose, I still gotta resolve 911.
Sure, and that's,
Minimal impact.
But you know it's gonna be somewhere in the 400,000 range, right?
Yeah, you know, so it's plus or minus 20,000.
okay.
And so once we get these adjustments in, we will then see how much additional revenue we have,
Okay.
because they're funded actually at the
Sure.
right.
Just
so-
putting council on notice, the last of August, that last week, or the 1st of September, we will need to start budget meetings. So if you could have your dates available, Monday, hopefully, when you come to that meeting, that would help us.
May I suggest not before the 25th?
Yes, that's fine, though. The last of August and the 1st of September will be fine. Anything else? Anything from directors? Mayor? Nothing? Okay. Rochelle, Herman, council? Do I have a motion to?
Wait a minute, he wants to do this line by line.
Okay, I thought you were going to do that and then get back to us how it affected the budget. Go right ahead.
No,
Go right
no,
ahead.
no, you gotta tell me what numbers you want.
Can we,
That's what I thought, can we not just,
can we email that to you tonight? I mean, or do you want to do it right now? I mean, I think that
Well,
may
I
take a
gotta
little
get a
time.
consensus. If you send me a number and somebody else sends me a number, what number do I use?
I think John's really wanting guidance from us right
That's
here.
fine, that's fine.
If you recall, last year, we had the presentations, and after presentations were over, I went down and said, okay, Carnegie Visual Arts Center.
But we did that, John, at the same time we did the budget review. And I think for me, I think you're asking us to do two different things that is really, I understand you've got to balance this budget to bring us, well, the mayor actually should have to do that if we change it because he needs to bring us a balanced budget. But, you know,
He did.
well, if we put the 25% in for the schools, it's not balanced then, but, so.
We'll have to do, we'll just have to increase the revenue.
When we had the line by line and had the directors in, we did all that in those meetings. I think you're asking us to do it before. I don't mind doing it today, but I don't know that, if council wants to wait until Monday, or, I mean,
Let me,
or email you what
let
we're
me
doing.
suggest a compromise here.
Go ahead.
John's wanting guidance. You've got a fiscal year 21 budget proposal in front of you. Why don't we, for the purpose right now, just say, go with the proposal, what's written in that column for right now?
You can do that.
But that's all, that's what you have already.
That's correct.
I mean, it's already in this budget.
But what he's wanting to know is whether or not we're willing to live with that number.
Correct.
But once we go through the budget review, we're gonna start paring that thing down anyway, Charles, and saying, I agree with that, I don't agree with that, and you get consensus at that point, anyway.
And I'm proposing you take 4 out of these allocations right now that are gonna come out of the 25% that go to schools. So, you know, and then we have to look at each of these and see if we want to do level funding. Some, in fact, there's a couple that I think we should actually give more. Health Department has been cut terribly in the last several years, and obviously we see how important they actually are to our community. But,
And see, at this stage in time, and I'm not saying you're wrong, whatever the majority wants to work with, we need to work with, okay?
well, and Ms. Hill, you said you had written an email to John and had not sent that yet, I think.
no, I haven't.
So
I was just-
I just think, John, and it's up to y'all, I mean, I don't mind giving mine right now, but,
Well, I
And-
think
and
when
whatever
we go
we-
through the budget, we're gonna say yea or nay.
We could do this now, we could do it later. I just felt like everything's fresh in everybody's mind. We just heard the presentations. If you give me numbers, revised numbers, we put them in. That's one less thing we gotta worry about going down the pipe.
John, but I think this year's a little
John?
different because we've put capital on the back burner. I know there was $500,000 added 400 for vehicles and a
Right.
100 for
Right.
accessories to those vehicles. But we took out all of capital in this budget, so we have zero. We have got to keep the city on standard. And I love our nonprofits, that's why I love Decatur. We have so many nonprofits that do so many phenomenal things. But if you don't have a foundation of police cars and fire trucks that you can respond to your residents, then the nonprofits at some point become minute because you don't have a city that's functioning properly.
And I'm on board with you here, but my point here is these are projected numbers, and say we give those him today, then we come back over the budget, they're still just projected numbers at that point.
But what you're saying is correct, based on these numbers currently remaining in the budget. But what I'm saying is if you're gonna change them, that will give you a different perspective on, say, like, for instance, we put 500,000 toward police vehicles. If you free up money out of this, then you can tell me where to apply that.
Well, and I think that's gonna be a conversation during budget, because
Yeah. Well,
we can do it now, but I'm not quite sure that everyone's gonna know where they would like to input those changes.
And see, we still have that other issue too. Some of these are essential services. Others are appropriations. They're all nice, don't get me wrong. But if cuts occur, some of those essential services essentially can't be cut. So we can either, for those that aren't essential services, work with the projected budget at zero, see how it works, and see if they can be reinstated. There's a lot of ways to do this.
Right. Tell me.
He's wanting
Yeah, and I
guidance.
think we've got to, I think we've got to see,
Go ahead, Chuck.
I think we've got to see the impact of the $500,000 that would go to the school system, and to what effect what are we going to have to do? If we have to cut things like grass cutting and things of that nature, we've got to look at, those are going to be some, we've got to make decisions as whether or not we can do the appropriations. So there's some things I just don't believe that we should cut, and I'd like to see the impact of what the budget looks like before we go line item by line item on these appropriations.
Well, the SSUT, the 1% going in schools creates a $500,000 hole. And probably be covered by a combination of revenue adjustments and expense cutting. And I can't tell you exactly how much, what blend of it is. The revenue numbers are coming in better, so we go back to what we've been seeing coming in as revenue and see if we can make any realistic adjustments to revenue. Once we do that, the remainder of the difference would have to come out of cuts.
And we talked about garbage trucks just recently, and that was,
625.
It's a special fund.
That's gonna come out of general fund unassigned balance because we have not addressed any capital needs in FY '20 the way we normally did because of COVID.
And what are you showing right now as unassigned fund balance, John?
I'm gonna say,
I know, it's okay. Just send us an email.
it's like 5 or
There's
6.
so many variables, because, I mean, you gotta calculate revenues and expenditures where we're at,
No, we're talking about the balance from the beginning of the year, not. the-
When we stopped, Kyle, when we kind of put a pause on things because Corona, we had some more road paving to do. We all know that. We knew that from the beginning. There are two roads that I can think of right now, 8th Street and then the Central Parkway Road that we've talked about. But again, we've seen that Corona is not going to go away tomorrow. We're going to have to continue business as the city, and the budget is part of that process. So we're going to have to loosen up some of that money that we put a pause on and do things for the city that we have to.
Well, let me help John in just a second.
Correct. But again, it's kind of a different discussion than what we're talking about now.
Well, let's set the date for the discussions, the financial.
But the last time you had that discussion with us and you put those printed numbers in front of us, you also had the earmarked parts for the fire station, other things with it.
Correct.
But I think the total in was what, 5 or 6?
It came down when you add those earmarks in, it pretty much wipes everything out that's in the.
But
back.
you
Got
had-
close to zero, you're saying?
Yes,
And we had two buildings in there as well.
that's correct.
We had
There's
Carrie
Carrie
Matthews
Matthews
and,
solution.
and the ice
there's
rink.
Overpass and the fire station.
do we not have the ice rink in there at all, anything?
No.
Okay, so that'll be 2 years, actually this month, that has been, that's another issue we've got to address at some point. That is gonna be, I think Jason told us, a $2 to $3 million
Well,
expense.
I can guarantee you that there is a long list of issues to address. It's a matter of prioritizing and identifying.
No,
the
I,
revenues.
trust me, I absolutely understand that, but, we can't hit pause forever. We have to conduct business and, we have to know where we're going. But we have to keep a standard for the city of Decatur.
Can we go ahead and look at dates? I know Charles said not the 24th, but if we can go ahead and schedule.
For budget meetings?
Yes.
Okay, have the last week of August after the 25th, the 25th is a Tuesday.
25th is Tuesday, so you're either Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and you're almost into Labor Day there, aren't you, Mayor?
Yes.
Yeah, the first Monday, and
All on paper.
will be, and we do have a meeting on the 2nd, is that correct, Stacy?
Work session.
No, the 8th, don't we?
I think
It'll
it
be
works.
the
Meeting.
8th is the meeting, and then,
7th is
no, actually, you have to do it in there 7 days prior, so that would move it.
Labor Day is on the 7th of September.
Yeah, but your meeting's on the 8th, and then if you guys do 7 days
So what
prior.
she's saying there, to have a budget meeting prior to the work session, you're still into August.
That's fine, I'll give dates, I'm just trying to give a barrier. I can make any time.
It can be done the last Friday of August, I mean.
Yes, Mr. Ard,
How long do we need? I mean, we need to make sure we've got,
I can-
previous years it's taken a while.
I'm comfortable discussing what's there, okay? If there are new priorities or significant changes, remember,
That'll probably be discussed.
we're in a zero-sum game. You want to take revenue away, or you want to add an expense, there's got to be an offset.
Yeah, okay.
Stacy, do we not meet on the 31st of August?
That would be 8, well, yeah, we could.
that would be the work session for the 8th.
That would be the work
The
session for the
24th
8th.
is the no meeting date.
But we're gonna need
Yes,
a
that
work
would
session
start.
before the
No,
8th
no, I'm
meeting.
talking about it could be the 31st.
The 31st is the work session
For
for
the 8th.
September. The week
Correct.
before that is 5 Mondays, so the 24th is no meeting. But the 24th is the day before election.
Yeah, Mr. Kirby's asked for that not to
Nuh-uh.
be. So, Ms. Hill, do you have
Sorry,
any
I'm
dates?
sorry. Okay, I'm not gonna have a good poker face there.
Mr. Ard, do you have any dates?
I was looking, so Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I would like to propose that we do it earlier in the day, so that if
Okay.
you need more time, like I would just allocate
Okay,
probably that day for
I
it.
would ask too, if you have any questions, please email me and not wait till the meeting to ask a question that's gonna require research.
I'll do the best I can, but something might come up.
I understand, but
Okay.
if you're thinking of something and you're like,
Yeah,
hey,
no
how
doubt.
much have we spent on this in the last 5 years, or what have we done here, or whatever, if you can get that to me, I'll gladly share it with everybody ahead of time so that we don't get bogged down in not making a decision because somebody feels they don't have all the information.
And let's look at one other thing here. The world doesn't end if you have to carry over into September with a carryover budget for an extra week or two until the budget's worked out. I mean,
Well, I'd like to propose the 31st.
it would be
which is Monday.
minimal adjustments.
No, there's significant.
A lot of work to do.
There's a
Well, I
significant-
know you,
I would rather not carry
your
over,
sales
but-
tax is way down.
I'd like to give finance as much time as possible. Ms. Hill, you said the 31st?
She did.
Do you have a time on the 31st?
8:30? 9 o'clock?
Are we just looking at one day?
That's why I said we are.
I'm here, I'll look at it as much as you want to look at it.
Okay, I'm just curious.
But that day is doable for a long meeting if we need to.
Again, it's a zero-sum game, right, John?
That's
So,
it.
Ms. Hill, what time did you say, 8:30?
Yeah, 8:30.
Okay. Mr. Ard?
I'm good with that.
Okay, Mr.
I'm
Ard.
good with that.
Mr. Ard, Ms. Hill, Mr. Jackson?
8:30 on the 31st is what we're saying?
Yes, sir.
I'm good with that.
Okay, Mr. Kirby?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so am I. Isn't it?
Everybody should have a copy of the budget. The only thing that's changed is we added the 500 for the police vehicles, offset by appropriation of $500,000. So that's a wash.
And let me ask on the capital, the police cars, we did say also some fire vehicles, did we not, that needed to be replaced? There are 3 vehicles.
Those were not added.
Okay, well then I'll just tell you now publicly, at least 1 or 2 of those need to be added.
Okay.
Increase revenue.
Well,
That'd be nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah, where is that button?
Yeah.
Can you water that tree?
Well, we may have to, what I'm saying is we may have to get a police car, we may have to compromise on that.
I will put 100,000 into the fire department for vehicles, and I will increase. the
I don't know if they need 100,000 this year, I think, but they do need a vehicle.
They go Suburbans, and by the time you put a Suburban and you put a radio and everything in it, you're at 50,000.
I don't believe we, Chief, we didn't say Suburban specifically, did we? I mean, y'all were very, very giving on what it was, I believe.
The pickup trucks and Suburbans are really close. I think Suburban's actually a little cheaper than the Tahoe. It's a little bit cheaper than the truck.
Thank you. Thank you for compromising on that. Anything else?
Okay, so are we gonna this is a work session, correct?
It will be for the budget.
31st.
31st, 8:30.
Got it.
All right, is that good?
I'm opposed.
They have a motion to adjourn.
Well,
Do they have a second?
Second.
Thank you.
John, the question that was asked earlier, for all practical purposes, the one that we at UB is basically a zero, and some other adjustments, right?
You gotta take